the beautiful Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama. They call this the Augusta of racetracks, and today these fans will be treated to a Tiger Phil-like fight. However, the players are different. Here, it's Pruitt and Gurney ready to drive like never before. We come to green for the summertime sprint race in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series under the lights at the World Center of Racing.
Left front of the Pontiac, cut the rim down, and we saw the sparks immediately show up. There's a Porsche in the way. Oh, he got tagged.
Oh! That is Jeff Siegel, and that car has flipped big time. Green flies, and so too does the white. Pruitt is not letting Gurney get away. This is not done yet. He comes wide high. Who's going to get it to the line? Pruitt gets it.
Wow, unbelievable. You know, it's never over till it's over.
Car's out of control.
Here they're going. They're bumping at it.
Oz is not afraid to mix it up, and they do mix it up.
That's what Grand Am racing is about.
Spectacular doesn't seem to be a strong enough adjective to describe this amazing facility, and that's why the teams in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series love returning to Barber Motorsports Park each and every year. We're ready to race again today in round 9 of the championship. This is the Porsche 250 by Bradley Arant. Hi everyone, Lee Diffie along with Dorsey Schrader and Calvin Fish. Cal, I'll get with you in just a moment. Dorse, it's a delight to be back at Barber again. This is an amazing facility, but there's one thing we talk about each and every July, and that is the temperature, and it's hot again.
It's over 100 degrees, and this racetrack is so much different than Daytona. Daytona's easy. You got half a lap where you're on the high bank, you're just wide open, just riding along. Not Barber. 15 corners here. These guys, they don't have paddle shifters. They have to shift by hand. They're going to be using both feet, both arms, and don't be surprised if some of these guys succumb to heat today.
And that's exactly what happened a year ago. Let's wind back the clock and show you some pretty alarming images of Max Angelelli, a former championship-winning driver here in the Grand Am Series, and heat exhaustion and physical fatigue to the extreme. He did get carried away by the paramedics. There was a happy ending to that story, and Angelelli is here racing in Grand Am again today, and Chris Neville is standing by with the Italian.
Max, we just took a look at some video from last year. How much is heat going to be an issue today?
I doubt it's going to be a problem. Last year was a different story. I drove 2.5 hours, no cool suits, no drink bottles, so that was different.
Well, when you look at some of the stats from this year, only 2 drivers have led laps at 7 of the 8 events. Obviously Scott Pruitt, but also Michael Valiente. Max, the car has shown a lot of speed. It's run up front. Can you convert this pole into a win?
We must. The car is capable to win races, and we must.
This team has never finished off the podium here. Can they get their first win of the year?
Angelelli's short on words. He's saving his talking for the track. Cal, at this time of the year, this is obviously round 9 of 14 for Daytona prototypes. We start talking championship. We start looking at the points.
We do. 6 races to go, lots to play for, but the Ganassi team, they have had a dream season. 5 victories, 7 podiums from the first 8 races, and a 40-point lead. And it was a body blow that Scott Pruitt struck to Alex Gurney in that last race on the final lap. Otherwise, that points lead would have been just 34. So the Ganassi team needs to falter, but think about this, the consistency of that team. They haven't finished outside of the top 10 since way back June 2006, Lee.
And we stick with Daytona prototypes, and one of the news items this weekend is race-winning team Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing have switched chassis. They are now running in a Riley, still powered by a Porsche, however a change of chassis for those boys. We'll see how it works for them here in Alabama today. Grand Am Racing is all about 2 classes on the track at the one time. Let's show you the GT standings.
Well, a lot closer here, and it's very tight. Only 4 races left in the GT Championship. The 07 team, they are now looking over their shoulder, just a 24-point lead, and the Mazda team seems to be quick at every racetrack we visit. But don't count out the 57 team. 4 consecutive podiums. They're showing the consistency, but the Pontiacs have not shown the same speed that we've seen since that weight adjustment and that weight bias change, Lee.
And still talking GT, let's talk with our pulse.
Schrader up here in the speed booth. You got me?
Go ahead, Dorse.
Nick, your 3rd pole of the year. That means the car has the speed. What are your concerns right before we go green here?
It's going to be very hot, so we're just going to have to stay very relaxed and calm in the car, not overdrive, and just try and get it to the point where full lane can take over and try and go for the win.
You guys got any kind of air conditioning on that car, or are you going to just sweat it out, buddy?
I'm going to sweat it out. I was thinking of wearing my overcoat, but I decided not to.
We'll be riding with you. Good luck. Have a good run.
So Nick Ham there, it's a race of survival was the key thing to take away with that. Our GT onboards for you, and Patrick Dempsey, Hollywood star, top right there. He is ready to roll, excited about being a competitor in the Grand Am Rolex series. And you see our Daytona prototype onboards there as well. John Fogarty starting in the defending championship winning car, the 99. Ready to roll once again. Can they get back-to-back victories here? Now, we're not too far away from the green with Michael Valiente on the pole. 109 laps or 2 3/4 hours, whichever comes first.
Every driver has to do 30 minutes to score points today, and every car has to stop in pit lane before the 45-minute mark.
102 degrees, 145-degree track temperature, and green flag.
And we've got the old sparring partners on the front row, but look at Ricardo Zonta on the inside. Best qualifying position this year, and he takes the lead in turn 1.
Big downforce from that Lola. They expected to be quick here. Qualified third, immediately to the front.
That's a very aggressive driving early on, boys. It's the first time these cars have been on the racetrack today. It's a very hot day. The track should be very slippery.
Split start for safety concerns. Keep it clear and clean for the GT competitors as well. And so far, so good for those boys. But we have got a race on at the front. Great qualifying effort by the Spirit of Daytona, the 09. And they may have dropped a position or two on the opening lap. Guy Cosmo behind the wheel.
Rojas back away. He's been dropped down to fourth. More importantly, the Gainesco team is in front of him.
Wow, here's the GT guys. They've got their green flag already started on, so they're on the way around on their first time.
The 87 there, doing well. The Farnbacher Lowell's car, Bryce Miller and Dirk Werner. Dirk Werner, who came in to Barber a little late. He's scrapping. The 87 is scrapping with Ryan Finney.
And here you see in the thick of the GT action in the 07 car, which had to go to the back of the pack here due to a ride height infraction. That's the championship leader. We understand they may take that early pit stop, Dorsey. Everyone will need to stop 2 times minimum here today. They may sort of like roll the dice on strategy.
That might be smart for those guys. Cut their back anyway. Here back to the lead overall. And it is, of course, the green car we're looking at.
The Lola for Krone Racing, Proto Auto LLC. A new formation over the off-season, and these guys have been the quiet achievers. That is for sure. Championship winning team, championship, they win races. But however, this year, a new direction, a new car, new driver combination with Nick Johnson and former F1 driver Ricardo Zonta. They've been on the podium twice. Now they lead this race early, and it's been 2 years since they won. And it was here at Barber Motorsports Park back in 2006.
Look at Valiente, though. He looks hooked up like he has been all weekend long. Nearly half a second faster than everyone in qualifying. That Dallara showing a great sense of speed here as well.
Chris.
Well, Kelly Collins brings the banner Pontiac to pit lane. They're going to do a splash of fuel here just to get them a couple more laps out there. But this team is going to have to get a caution at some point to hopefully try and get back up with the pack. But they've got that mandatory stop done.
The key is that caution should ideally fall for this team before the 45-minute mark. So that would really give them good track position once everyone else comes in.
Zonta, Valiente, Fogarty, and then the outside pole man, Memo Rojas in fourth, and he's being hassled hard by the 58 of David Donahue.
This is not unusual. Sometimes it seems to take Memo a couple of laps to find his rhythm, but the team are really pleased with the job that he's done this year. He's much more on the pace, a great teammate for Scott Pruitt in trying to win this championship. 5 victories we mentioned earlier, and really now starting to get on top of his game.
David Donahue really leaning on him now in the 01, but I talked to him and Darren Law earlier in the weekend. They said the heat is not the friend of this Porsche engine, and it's over 100 degrees today, guys. So after about 5 or 6 laps, when the heat really soaks in, look for them to struggle a little bit. But David Donahue definitely taking the fight to the 01 right now.
Now, one thing I said earlier at the show, guys, these race cars have not been on the track yet today. Their last practice session was yesterday. So today, a hotter day than we've seen all weekend long. Maybe some of these teams have adjusted for that, and these cars are coming in quicker. In other words, they're getting grip faster earlier in this session.
And with that Porsche motor, it's a smaller displacement motor than the rest of the DP field, so it seems to struggle, Dorsey, in either a high altitude situation like we'll see at Salt Lake City for the finale, and certainly these summer months.
The 61 of Mark Wilkins, the young Canadian who was so impressive at the previous round at Daytona. Luck didn't go their way. Maybe not being so much in the limelight at the start of this one. Their luck may change.
Lee, when you talk to a lot of the drivers here, they absolutely love coming to this racetrack. However, both Wilkins and Frizzell shake their heads and say, we just can't figure this place out. It was our worst racetrack of the year last year. When they came off the truck on Thursday and Friday this week, they just didn't have the setup. However, they went much softer than they normally do, so the car started to come to life. So hopefully these guys trying to turn around one racetrack that they hate coming to, and hopefully turn around the season and get that monkey off their back.
How about the spirit of Daytona? Porsche Coyote, highest qualifying Porsche, and this is the V8 powered Porsche. It is the only one of its kind in the field of chassis engine combination, and the only V8 Porsche in this current field. It's being chased by another Porsche, and it's Bill Auberlen in the Ruby Tuesday car.
Guy Cosmo, I had a word with him about this 09 car, Spirit of Daytona. They're really making good strides with this new engine. The V8 Porsche, as you say, it's a taller motor, it's got a higher center of gravity, but they're coming to terms with it. And of course, the Ruby Tuesday car, there's a pass up there, as we saw Memo Rojas trying to get by.
Some GT traffic, he's trying to slide through. Ken Donahue take advantage.
This is now starting to raise the temperature a little bit. Donahue got loose.
Don't know whether that was aerodynamic wash off the back of the 01 or whether he just got too close and jinked out of the way. Maybe Memo lifted briefly and caught David unawares.
Dorsey, you were just talking about CG, and when I was talking to Bill Auberlen this weekend, he said, you know, I thought I was going to get in that Riley, and I just didn't expect the difference being so much between the Porsche and the BMW he drove last year in the Siegel Sport car. But one thing Bill Auberlen did bring to the table is he gave the team 3 pages of notes on the Riley setup prior to getting to the racetrack, and hopefully giving that team an advantage figuring that car out. Brian?
Just checked in with the Spirit of Daytona team and Guy Cosmo, and they said, we're just not going to fight for those positions right now. It is a long way to go, way too hot to fight that hard early on. This team really coming alive lately. They ran as high as 7th at Daytona the last round and finished 10th, and then a great qualifying effort by Guy Cosmo here this weekend. That team really coming alive with that Porsche V8 and the Coyote chassis.
They're certainly looking good in the 23 car. Now starting to put pressure on the 61 machine. I just spoke to Billy Auberlen about an hour ago. They went the wrong way with this car. They made the switch to the Crawford, from the Crawford to the Riley this weekend, and they just twisted the screws, as he said, in the wrong direction. They were trying to get the car to put the power down better. They made a change. It didn't change that, but gave it massive understeer. The other concern for this team is there's no air conditioning or driver cooling in that car. They didn't need it in the Crawford, but in the Riley, you're definitely going to suffer today.
The 16, the Chiba Racing car with Tom Kimber-Smith behind the wheel. It looks likely that the young British driver will finish out the season with Chiba Racing, so that's good in the Crown Royal cask number 16 Coyote.
Tom Kimber-Smith at the start of this race, guys, got pushed off into the grass at the beginning there, so he's dropped back. That's why. And I think he's probably gathered himself up and he's trying to get a rhythm going.
Spoke to Dave Meehan, who's the team manager for Chiba Racing, a little while ago, and he said, we're really strong here. We can run a lot of downforce in this Coyote chassis, which gives you the grip. We don't have the long straightaways like some of the other racetracks, so we get more drag with that, but it doesn't seem to compromise our overall lap time any.
So it's Ricardo Zonta leading ahead of Michael Valiente and John Fogarty. Top 3. Zonta has almost a 2-second advantage over the pole sitter in the SunTrust Dallara. Great variety up front. It's a Lola leading a Dallara, leading a Riley. Look at this here. Billy Auberlen is coming on hard. Both Riley chassis cars. It's Porsche versus Ford, side by side. Will Auberlen have enough? No.
Auberlen got loose. He couldn't get the power down, and it really spun the tires up, Calvin. It had a little wiggle there.
Well, that's what they've been fighting since they rolled off the truck this weekend. And as they said, they made a major change to the setup. It didn't help that. And Joey Hand said, we've got to be racy. If the car's understeering, we can't do nothing with that. Basically, our traction control becomes our right foot.
Yeah, and you saw it. I mean, it was clear when Bill got to the inside. When he pulled the trigger on that power plant, it spun the rear wheels up. He had to catch the car.
Well, he was trying to tuck it in as well, Dorsey. When you add all of that steering input and you chase the throttle, it's going to do that. It's going to break loose.
Remember the experience that Auberlen has in Riley chassis Daytona prototype racing all last year with Siegel Sport. So this is something that is not unfamiliar to the Californian. Wilkins is handling the pressure well, though. And this is the fight for 6th place.
Wilkins is really coming of age. He's really showing a lot of maturity. He's a lot more aggressive on these early laps. We saw that where he put that monumental pass around Valiente in the chicane at Daytona 1 race ago, and he's withstanding the heat right now from Billy Auberlen. But that 23 car looks hooked up there, really tucked in nicely.
Well, we've seen plenty of Daytona prototypes. When we come back from this short commercial break, we'll see GT. It's the pole-sitting car of Nick Ham leading the way ahead of his Speed Source teammate, Jeff Siegel, and Andrew Davis, the best of the Pontiacs. We're at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. This is a great place, and last year it was an awesome race.
Check this out.
Oh, GT! Whoa, nice air. Oh, do you see that? Man, those things are fast! It's amazing.
Grand Am Racing at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Friday, August 1st. See it on Speed TV.
The odds of a child becoming a professional golfer? 1 in 140,000. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. You know the odds of autism. Now learn the signs. Go to autismspeaks.org.
Would you like to double, triple, or even quadruple your income and eliminate your credit card debt?
I make $5,000 a month in residual income.
These people got started by getting a free DVD that showed them the way to financial freedom.
And we'll be making over $8,000 a month this month.
We made over $18,000 last month.
Our free DVD will guide you into the perfect home-based business.
Respond now while this is still a free service. Go to 75getmoney.com. That's 75getmoney.com.
Speaking of Pirelli, let's take you to the Pirelli track map. We'll show you the circuit the boys are playing on today.
No question about Barber Motorsports being very, very park-like, very golf course-like. It's a beautiful racetrack, 2.3 miles. This is a handling track. There's 9 right-hand corners and 7 lefts. Your car's got to cut well, both left and right, and brakes are of the optimum here as well. So, busy racetrack.
So you know the playing surface right now. Here is our GT leader, Nick Ham, and they're in the championship chase. Remember the situation, the 07, the Pontiac of Kelly Collins starting right at the back of the field. As Calvin mentioned, due to that ride height infraction, they're the championship leaders. These guys are just one of many challenges for this GT championship. So far, so good for the Florida-based Speed Source engineering team.
A lot of concerns with the GT cars here this weekend with this high track temperature, high ambient. The rear tire temperatures have been off the charts, so that lightweight Mazda Dorsey should be in the best shape to handle that, you would think.
Yeah, I agree too. But like I said in the track map, you know, it's a handling course, and there's nowhere on this racetrack for the tires to cool down because there's 2 straightaways. Neither of them are very long in the time that it takes to get from one end to the other. Then you're back in a series of rights and lefts. It really loads the chassis heavily.
The key is balance. I mean, if you got a balanced, a neutral race car is not understeering or is not oversteering, that's how you're going to get the best tire life. That's how you're going to get the least amount of generated tire temp from a mishandling race car. You see Andrew Davis there. He's not letting these Mazdas get away. Currently running 3rd. As we said, they've been on a podium streak 4 in a row with a 57 machine.
This here is the car, the white Mazda that ended up on its roof at Daytona. Spectacular pictures from our previous race meeting as we drop back to Andrew Davis. Here he is in one of the many Pontiac GXPRs. However, not a happy story for one of his Pontiac brothers, Tim Lewis Jr. in the Autohouse car. We're receiving a report that the 72 is out, a blown engine in the Autohouse Pontiac.
Look at that Pontiac rides the curbs though, Dorsey. It seems to maintain that contact patch. You see the Mazda hit those curbs, the wheel is off the ground.
Yeah, we've watched that all weekend, Calvin, that the Pontiacs are able to use the curbs. Of course, this is also a motorcycle course. These curbs are very low compared to what you see at some road race courses. But that Pontiac can get up on that curb and watch the suspension and the tire contact patch to the ground. It stays constant. It's a very good handling car.
Bryce Miller in the Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche, highest qualifying Porsche in GT, and qualifying, which was Bryce Miller's bag last year when he shared with Dirk Werner, who went on to win the championship. He qualified virtually everywhere. this year when he was previously with TRG and Ted Ballou. Ballou did the majority of the qualifying. Now he's made the switch back to his old team, and I think this is only, from memory, the third time Bryce has qualified this year. This is Ryan Finney for Matt Connolly Motorsports in the 21, the GTO-R, the only GTO-R in the GT field.
And of course, it's an older model of the Pontiac, but nonetheless a very, very strong car. And Ryan Finney has really, really impressed me, if not you guys, all year long, as he's come out of an open wheel background, got into this big car, and really turned heads in it.
He has been sensational, basically mentored by Joey Hansel. Joey certainly told him what you need to do, and Joey had so much success with GT cars of a similar nature prior to his move to the bigger DP machines. But Ryan Finney, very impressive indeed.
You see Memo Rojas just skipping through on the inside. He's trying to hunt down the 99 of John Fogarty. So the guys at the front of the field, you saw there Ricardo Zonta whip on by. He's got a 3.3 second lead over Michael Valiente. It's fairly steady at the front, isn't it? There's no emerging challenges there for any positions. They're just into a rhythm, a routine already.
Eric Lux there, the 86 machine, had that massive win at Mid-Ohio in the rain. He and Lee King did a tremendous job in very difficult conditions that day. But that M6 is also looking strong, Dorsey. Had a 50-pound weight break, currently driven by Mike Borkowski.
Yeah, that car under development just started the season and has not run a lot of races yet, so it's certainly under development. It's a good-looking car.
And this is the Ruby Tuesday Championship Porsche-powered Riley. Orblin, who runs 6th now. He did get by Mark Wilkins and has gapped him somewhat. So looking strong. David Donahue is the next one on his list. Zonta, Valiente, Fogarty, Rojas, Donahue, Orblin. That brings you up to 6th place. Wilkins, Cosmo, Shane Lewis, and Ricky Taylor in the 47 Dallara is in the top 10. Here is the 57, currently 3rd in GT. This is Michael Valiente right now. And he's chasing this man here, our overall leader and Daytona prototype class leader, Ricardo Zonta.
And Zonta last lap ran a lap speed of 122 short, 122.3. And in other words, what I'm saying there is he's running a lap speed not far off what qualifying was. And that surprises me because it's very hot today. And we know that tires and tire is a concern on wearing these tires out too soon.
Well, one thing that this team has really gotten on top of, their wind tunnel model, as we understand it, was not accurate in the early development of this car. And they've now got that sorted out. They have a 40% wind tunnel model they use with Lola, and that really makes a huge difference. You see some of these big Grand Prix teams lose their way. It typically comes down to the wind tunnel. When you sort that out, when you then come to the racetrack, you're in much better shape.
Riding with the 2nd place, Michael Valiente, the pole-sitting car. And they're looking for a little bit of a good run here, and that is an understatement. The team, you have to give them so much credit for hanging in there, keeping morale high, and keep soldiering on with all the knockbacks they've had this year. But this could be their turning point.
You know, Calvin, if I was a team manager today, I'd sit down with my drivers and talk about a strategy of pace. You know, we've everybody's talked about all weekend how hot it is here, over 100 degrees, the track temperature over 145, and you have to get all the way through the whole day with the car that you got underneath you. So, you know, these guys that are running off these really fast laps early on is somewhat of a surprise to me.
Yeah, you've got to maintain the pace that will allow the tires to live. You're looking at pretty long stints here. This will be the shortest stint of the day, and we've actually heard some of the teams that may look to take an early option. You could stop now and do it on one more stop, essentially. We're hearing about 50 laps for the DPs. We're now 13 laps in, so that would put them at a point they could do it on one more stop, but strategy is always the key in winning one of these things.
It's pretty tight, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Look at David Donahue get racing, putting the pressure on. Whoa! Dirt tracks it, goes up over the ripple strip on the inside, on the wrong side.
GT leader, he was trying to get through.
He almost got into Nick Ham. If he didn't, I think maybe he did touch Nick Ham as he went up, jumped over that curb.
That's cost David time in terms of his race with Memo Rojas, and it's let him get a little closer to Billy Orblin, which he did not want.
A lot of discussion in the drivers' meeting this morning with Mark Raffoff, the chief steward, about the amount of contact we're seeing between the DPs and the GTs. And he basically laid the law down. I don't want to see any contact, otherwise penalties will be coming.
This is the car that gave us the closest winning margin in Grand Am Rolex Series history, Chris. A spectacular finish, and you're with the man who drove it there.
Where Angelelli struggles in the heat, Pruitt seems to shine. And just like Dorsey and Trans Am, from Scott, we know that you train intensely, but what other types of things do you do to acclimate yourself to the heat?
Well, I mean, a lot of it just being out there in it. I drive on my family. Sorry, but I drive them crazy because I don't turn the air conditioner on hardly at all unless they absolutely need it in the car. I don't turn on much in the house. I'm outside working in the vineyard all the time, and it's been in the high 90s, low 100s out in Northern California. So I know that these cars are hot, so whatever I can do to keep my level of intensity of heat there all the time, I just feel it keeps me acclimated and sharp for getting out there, because these cars are hot. And coming to Alabama this time of year, you know it's going to be our toughest race of the season.
You've never won here. What's it going to take to break through the Barber barrier?
I don't know. You know, the Ganassi guys have done a great job, and my hat's off to Telmex and Lexus. You know, we're trying every week. We broke through at Daytona a couple weeks ago. We've had what looks to be a pretty quick car here. We just got to play it smart and do what we do. I mean, hopefully the race will come to us, and we can put this sucker on the podium.
Good luck, man.
Well, I think Scott's just cheap in not turning the AC on. In regards to you having an intense workout program, I mean, where did Chris get that from? I've never seen you in a gym in my life.
I work on a different
Well, never won here at Barber. That's the case for Lexus as well as Pruitt, but there doesn't seem to be a hurdle too high for that man and this team. They can't jump in 2008. We'll see if they can do it. Long way to go, though. Stick around. Quick reminder for you about one of the new shows on Speed in 2008, and that is 101 Cars You Must Drive with comedian Alonzo Bowden. And Alonzo is holding it wide open on some cars that are super sporty and super fast. 101 Cars You Must Drive tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. Damage here to the 59 Brumos Porsche of JC France. Let's take you back to a replay and see if we can work out what the story is, Dawes.
This is Mark Patterson you're riding with, and up ahead there, of course, is JC. There's some traffic. And that stacks everybody up.
There's John Pugh right there alongside him in the 6 machine,
look,
two Shank cars.
The damage is done by John Pugh. No, it's by the Porsche.
GT car.
Porsche. Yeah,
that's Eric Lux in the 86.
Well, everybody got stacked up there, and the GT car ended up hitting the back of JC France. Brumos Porsche has lost a lot of downforce, Calvin.
Yeah, a lot of drag going to be with that piece sticking out to the side. You could maybe deal with one or the other, but both is going to be a big handicap. Such a shame. This car's had 2 top 5 finishes in the last 2 rounds. Currently sits 6 in points.
Riding with Bryce Miller, looking at JC France. How long can he stay out, Dawes, Cal?
Well, they don't flag him. That's the thing, really.
They're in a window, however, now where they could do it on one more stop. So I'm surprised they wouldn't try and get him in, get that stop down. Remember the 45-minute rule. You got to make a stop before that point. We're now past the point where they need an additional stop. One more stop after that would get him to the finish.
You know, he's fallen back quite a bit, so I'm agreeing with you, Calvin. I don't know why they wouldn't pull him in now and do the driver change, get the bodywork fixed back up so they have more time of the race left to try to recover.
One thing about all this green flag running, thinking back to the 07 machine, the championship leader in GT, I mean, they made that pit stop. The one thing they do not want to do is to go down a lap to the DP leader of this race, because then if they saw a yellow, they're basically stuck behind that car with the pits being closed.
And speaking of no yellows, unless this is fun, the racetrack has got to be commended because they've done a lot of work since the last time we were here. Last year we had 5 caution flags because a lot of cars getting stuck in gravel traps. Well, they've moved those gravel traps. They've moved the barriers back, and they've asphalted where the gravel trap used to be and then put a gravel trap further beyond it. So it's not trapping cars like it was before.
The grass doesn't grow under Mr. Barber's feet, that's for sure. He doesn't stand still, always trying to improve this wonderful facility. There's a new motocross track over the back. They're talking about an extension to the wonderful museum, which we'll show you some images of a little later. Now the 75 here of Tracy Crone and Eric Vanderpool as we look to the next round of the Grand Am Rolex Series. We head north to Montreal. Eric has a conflicting race back in Belgium, of course, his home country at Spa. So we'll see Ollie Gavin step in to the Crone Racing Lola. Look forward to that.
He's going to be here today, and in fact, there's an open test for all of the teams here tomorrow. So Ollie will get some laps tomorrow, get back in the groove. Of course, he drove with this team at the 24 Hours of Daytona this year.
And I talked with Tracy Crone earlier in the week, and he was talking about his scale model that they could go to the wind tunnel with, and he was very, very happy that the car is coming on. He's making some progression. He said, you know what? The car's getting better each time. I wish I was.
It's tough out there. DP field has gotten so competitive, so if you're not right on the money, you're going to be deep in the pack.
We climb aboard. Wayne Taylor Racing's SunTrust Dallara with a Pontiac power plant. If you've got the remote control close, crank it up, turn it up. Let's go for a ride with the Canadian. Here we go, a lap around Barber. Well, half
maybe a lap. As he's on pit lane now.
Okay, so we'll now have 89 laps to go, and they'll split the difference somewhere in there, and this is going to be the key. We expect Valiente to stay in. Chris Neville's in their pit box.
Chris, there's something wrong. This car is clean, no damage.
No, Lee, they're just planning on trying to get this fuel stop done right now. I think we anticipated that Valiente would spend a bit more time. Angelelli has a little bit of a tough time with the heat, so this is going to be a longer run for Valiente. He loves this place. He says it's a lot like a go-kart track. That's where I've got a lot of my experience, and typically that's what we hear from a lot of the go-karters out here. Valiente, Joey Hand, all those guys, Mamo Gidley, they absolutely love it because it's so tight, twisty, and you're always on the wheel.
Yeah, it's definitely a rhythm track where you really need to get a lot of laps in here, and so you get the rhythm and the feel of left, right. There's no straightaway. Some guys hate it, some guys love it.
And this car has really come on strong immediately. Out of the box, it was quick and came so close to victory on a number of occasions, including the last round at Daytona. Michael Valiente led, of course, then had that cut-down tire that cost him a chance of victory once again.
And for Dallara, as a manufacturer, as somebody who sells race cars, it's certainly boding well for them. Likewise for Lola as well. These new cars in 2008 are performing brilliantly. This is our race leader, Brazilian Ricardo Zonta, the former F1 driver, has an 8-second lead already over John Fogarty.
And he made his intentions clear at the drop of the green.
Did he? What?
I mean, wow. I really didn't expect that. I don't think anybody in the front row expected that he was going to do that either. But
he did. He was ready to go racing, that's for sure. Stuffed it down the inside. Knew they had strong pace. The car has always been stronger in the race than it's qualified this year, so it was an ominous sign for the rest of the field when they qualified third here this weekend.
Just looks good on the track, doesn't it? It's just stuck. So that margin has now grown closer to 10 seconds to this car. The Gainsco Auto Insurance Pontiac Riley, the defending series champions and the defending race winners. John Fogarty typically qualifies the car and starts the car. That's their routine, and then hands it over to Alex Gurney, who put in a wonderful drive last year. The heat got him as well, but they managed to hang on. Brian.
David Donahue on pit road in the number 58. A lot of grass in the radiator and the wheel wells. He obviously had a problem and drove off track at some point. That car back on track right now. I talked to Darren Law earlier, and they said David can go as hard as he wants and use himself up. It's Darren Law who's going to have to conserve a little bit.
Calvin, one thing we heard over the weekend a little bit was that some of these engine temperatures, because of the ambient temperature being so hot here, were at critical stages without following other cars. A lot of guys were having to pop out and get clean air to the radiator. So any grass like that would be a problem.
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes you just have to more action down in the pits.
Number 6 is in. John Pugh came to pit road. Ian James taking over. This car, too, has been off track. A lot of grass out of the wheel wells and in the radiator when Pugh brought it to a stop. Team getting Ian James belted in. The team right now trying to blow out the radiators as well. On a hot day like today, you can't have any obstruction at all, or you're going to overheat this motor very, very quickly.
And gone, Ian James. And think about that. We're just getting to the 30-minute mark now. And that doesn't bode too well for John Pugh as far as championship points.
That was a mistake on their part, I think.
Must do 30 minutes to get championship points in the Grand Am Rolex Series. We need to leave Birmingham, Alabama just for a moment. This is how it sits in Daytona Prototype and GT. Stick around. The amazing Barber Vintage Museum. Not just for motorcycles, cars as well, but motorcycles are the main focus. 144,000 square foot multi-floor facility that houses over 1,100 exhibits. Just stunning. And they have motorcycles from 17 different nations, more than 125 manufacturers. This is something worthwhile seeing in your lifetime. If you're driving through the state of Alabama, or if you're even close by in neighboring Georgia, you need to divert and come and see this place. If you're a motorsport, whether it's car or bikes, motorsport fan, you need to see this. Quite incredible. We welcome you back. You're watching Grand Am on Speed, and you're also looking at the race leader, Ricardo Zonta, in the 76 Chrome Racing Lola, powered by Pontiac, and he has a massive lead, but however, he is one of just a few yet to perform that mandatory stop in the first 45 minutes.
Well, you have to be careful with the rest of the leaders pitting. If it went yellow now, the pits would be closed, so these guys would have to wait. They'd lose a lot of track position. If I was Jeff Hazel and the boys, I'd be bringing him in pretty sharpish.
That'd be soon, wouldn't it?
That would be soon, of course, yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Ganassi Lexus is in. Chris, take it away.
Well, Rojas brings the car to pit lane. It looks like it's in good shape, guys. No problems. Lots of cars coming in with grass up in the radiator. Nothing on the 01 car, so this team going through the motions here. Really good stop. Just about everybody who has come in has done tire and fuels. The only car that I have not seen do that, the only car that I saw that didn't take tires was the 10 car.
Well, that just shows they're very confident in the handling of that Dallara if they're going to do essentially a stint and a half on those tires. So a lot of strategy calls. I mean, if you're putting a fair amount of fuel in, the tires can typically be done in the same amount of time, so you have to wonder about that call. Very hot conditions here, the tire temps and pressures would normally come up quickly, Dawes.
Yeah, you know what? Now, this 99 car, guys, were reported not up to speed, or it doesn't look like it's going as quickly.
Oh, it sounded like a clutch issue, is it? The audio sounded a bit weird, like it was winding up. Electric motor.
Let's have a listen.
Yeah, it seems like the clutch is slipping or something.
Chris?
Well, the 76 is in. Nick Janssen getting behind the wheel, taking over from Ricardo Zonta. This team also not doing tires, so just driver and fuel at this point in time. Zonta's first time to Barber this weekend. He also has had some symptoms of the flu, so he hasn't spent a lot of time behind the wheel, but he definitely was fast enough in qualifying to keep the car up front. Good stop by these guys. Good stop by this team, and we've seen them do very well with tire wear over the course of the year, so they're taking that strategy along with the 10 car.
Maybe that's why. Go ahead,
Dawson.
Maybe that's why he was so fast at the start. He's sick. He wants to get out of the car as soon as possible.
Very curious that these guys are not taking tires. I mean, this is a pretty torturous racetrack, and you saw there the driver change was the limiting factor in getting the 76 back onto the racetrack and into the action. So those boys have thought about it. They've been watching and monitoring the tire wear all weekend long, so very happy with the Pirellis.
Switch back again and let's listen to this car, see if we can pick up. Doesn't seem right. Yeah, it's definitely clutch slip, I think. The note on the shift, Kevin, when he shifts it to the next color gear, listen. Now it sounds
yeah,
a lot
right there. Like when he gets into like those higher gears, it's like it's
right there. You heard it slip again.
Last time round, his lap time was respectable, a 1:25.4 for Alex Gurney. Let's go to the team and find out more.
John, the guys upstairs are thinking you got a clutch issue with the 99. Is that what's going on?
Unfortunately, yeah. It happened very quickly after we got the green flag. You know, and there's not much you can do. You got to keep the pace up, but it's hard on the clutch, so we're doing everything we can. We're just going to keep running it. Hopefully it hangs in there. But it's too bad for the Games car. We had a good start. We got ahead of our main competition there in the 01, and frustrating.
Well, this has always been a very strong track for this team, so trying to get things going again and make a charge at the Telmex car, but things aren't going that way today.
Well, I'm sure Alex Gurney is not using the clutch, Calvin. In other words, when he's upshifting, he's not putting the clutch in, he's just pulling it into gear, but you can still hear that the engine's spinning up, that the clutch is slipping, and it's the more it does that, of course, like all clutches, it'll burn up.
I seem to remember a race a few races ago where they had a similar issue, and it did fix itself miraculously. We're all saying, well, that isn't going to last all day, and somehow it did. So something weird with the system they're using, it would seem.
Car did not roll off the hauler all that well. The 99 boys were not overall completely content with it, like they've had their hands things fall just like Alex Gurney does here, putting pressure on the 10.
And there you see it. He's not getting full power up in the middle and high gears, and that's where Valiente seems to stretch a little bit.
These have carbon fiber clutches, and when they get hot, which they would do as they're spinning up, they actually get thicker. The carbon gets thicker, and it makes more traction or gives more grip. So maybe that's what happened last time this happened. Maybe it gets up to enough operating temperature, it'll start to engage fully.
Certainly handle him well.
Valiente being forced to defend. It's tight here between the two former Atlantic drivers.
A bump there. Hey, I'm back here.
You have to wonder about the call there by not taking tires on the 10 machine. Is that why Alex is a little bit quicker here?
Well, you can definitely hear a little bit of slippage every time he pops the next taller gear.
I'm amazed. Every race car 2 laps.
That's
New
because
technology, I guess.
that was 25 years ago.
Easy, Doris.
When the clutches were made of asbestos. I know what you mean, though.
These two were competitors in the old Toyota Atlantic series. Did they ever imagine they'd be stars in sports car racing later on in their career? Funny how motorsport careers work out. The 09 Spirit of Daytona Porsche led on pit rotation, and that's the first time that car has led in this series this year. The boys are enjoying a positive race meeting, that's for sure, as we're into our rhythm now. It's 109 laps or 2 3/4 hours, whichever comes first. We're caution-free so far. Will it stay that way as Brad Yeager in the Dallara inherits the race lead?
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. The 76 Lola Krone racing car in pit lane here. Going to be an extended stop up at the left front. They did all 3 corners of tires already. Just trying to get things cleaned up in that left front corner. Trying to take a look over there. Looks like they've got a lot of debris from that tire. As Nick tried to make his way back to pit lane, that tire really came apart, so there wasn't much left but just the wheel up there. So the team has got some snips over there trying to cut away a bunch of... it looks like a bunch of wire caught around the wheel and caliper and everything. So just trying to get that cleaned up, and this team having a long stop here, guys.
Well, the key was going to be staying on that lead lap. Normally they would have done that successfully, but these are the sort of things that happen to us. You never rehearse anything like that. A bunch of wire essentially wrapped around the suspension.
And I'm wondering if it was wire, if that was actually steel belting from that tire that blew out that got ripped in there.
Let's show you what happened to Nick Jonsson while we were in the break.
See that puff of smoke, Calvin? Left front tire down. The first time you and I saw it, we thought how strange that was. Nick Johnson wouldn't just go off like that.
Right.
And then as we went further and more in depth into looking at this, we realized that his left front was cut down before he tried to make that corner.
This is down at 7A and 8 over the museum corners, and the sister car is in.
They're basically getting in just inside that 45-minute mark. Every car who is not pitted will be in on this lap because you got to do that first pit stop before the 45-minute mark. 30-odd seconds left on that.
And I don't know that they'll all make it because there's a lot of cars that... Now they've all made it now but one.
So to update you with the revised placings, the 99, the Gainscote Bob Stallings machine, leads this race. They won it a year ago on their way to winning their first Grand Am Daytona Prototype Championship. Scott Pruitt is second. Nothing between them, less than a second. David Donahue in third. Michael Valiente is fourth in the 10 SunTrust Dallara. And then Joey Hand, after taking over from Bill Aublin, is in the top 5. Mark Wilkins stayed in. Did not hand over to Brian Frizzell. He's in 6th. Shane Lewis also, as Chris mentioned, stayed in. And Marc-Antoine Cameron has taken over from Guy Cosmo. He's 8th. Tom Kimber-Smith also stayed in. He is 9th. And Ricky Taylor in the 47 Dallara for the Doran camp. He's in the top 10.
David Donahue now running third. Pruitt starts to hand down that 99 machine. It used to always be the 10 versus the 01. Now it seems to be the 99 versus the 01.
Great run in recent times for the 58.
Been knocking on the door. Really seem to have come alive. They really couldn't get their hands around these new set of pit regulations for this season, but certainly now getting a grasp of that and getting in some tremendous results. Always a factor. 3 poles this year, a couple of runner-up finishes. It's only a matter of time.
Well, guys, don't think the clutch problem on the 99 has gone away. Alex Gurney's still telling the guys over the radio that it is still there, but Kyle Brennan, the engineer who leads this team, is telling them, hey, Alex, we can still win this race with a clutch problem. Just take care of it. And think about it, guys. Having to take care of that clutch means you're coming off the corners easier, taking care of the rear tires. One thing that a lot of these teams are thinking about this weekend, burning those rears off. But also, this team does need to make one more pit stop, so it's going to be very difficult for Alex to get off pit lane if that clutch fails.
Chris, have you had a chance to actually have a look at the drivers who did that first stint? How are they looking fatigue-wise, and do you see them double stint? We've got a crash down at turn 7, 7A. And it is one of the TRG cars. It is the 68 Porsche of Jose Manuel Gutierrez is beached.
And that beached will bring out the full course caution more than likely. It should, anyway.
So wonder what caused this. We will try and decipher this situation as we go under our first full course yellow. 33 laps in the books. It was a good clean start, wasn't it?
There really was, but right now we're seeing some action, and be a tough call strategy-wise. 33 laps in, if you stop now, you're not going to get to the checkered flag without an additional stop for fuel unless we have a lot of caution. So I think the leaders may stay out. Someone on the back of that lead lap may come in and take a freebie and top up.
All right, we go to the replays. Look at the top of your screen. Top of your screen.
Oh boy, somebody drove in.
That was a sister car.
It was. Way in too deep and just smashes.
Craig standing behind the wheel of the 65 machine. He wasn't expecting that. Very late move.
So it was Jose Manuel on the inside who nailed Craig Stanton.
Brian Sellers nips through there, driving the 30 machine this weekend. There's another look at it. Just a late hit. Went in there with way too much speed. To see if Craig got away without any damage to the 65 machine.
Well,
there you see it on the...
Looked like a pretty good hit, but...
May have got him between the wheels, which may be his savior there.
I think the irony there is Craig Stanton is Jose Manuel's driver coach. He certainly didn't teach him to do that.
He said, follow me, but...
This is what you do if I come and slam right in. Sorry, Craig.
Craig is very, very busy away from the racetrack, going back to other racetracks with his driver coaching program. He works so hard all year long. And a former series champion in the GT class in Coney Challenge. This is a celebrated driver. And on that occasion, a lucky driver. Got a pretty decent hit, but got away with it. And that TRG Porsche for Regal Autosport doesn't look too bad. Chris, what do you have for us?
Well, Lee, you were wondering about how some of the drivers fared in that first stint. Memo Rojas, you guys are out front. You guys do the least amount of driver cooling in the car. You guys just run helmet blowers, no cool suits. How was that first stint?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, the team does a good job trying to insulate the car, so we don't have to run a cool suit. They also push us hard to work out every week, so it wasn't easy, but it was okay for me. Things are going well according to strategy, so we'll see what happens.
Well, at least Rojas looks pretty fresh. Guys, talking with some of the doctors who are there this weekend, working with these drivers, they've said that these guys can lose up to about half a gallon of water or sweat in just an hour of driving, so that's about 3.5 pounds.
That's huge, Dorsey, and you have to really be in great shape. You have to stay hydrated. You have to prepare coming into these hot weekends. And I know most of the guys now in the field are very familiar with these conditions and know they have to be ready to go. Here we're looking at some of feeling the heat, Dorsey, and we're looking at pedal temperature, firewall, and the seats. And the one at the top is the one that stands out. That is the 01 machine. Look at it. It's a lot cooler. So the Ganassi boys think of everything. Look how the firewall temperature compares, for example, between it and the Ford Dallara, way down at 172.
And we were talking about that last night, about the insulation. Here's the GT cars, as you see how hot they are inside. The more insulation you build in the car, the cooler the car is, but the more insulation you build in the car, the heavier the car is, and that weight is up high, so it increases the center of gravity to a higher point. Not a good thing.
To the Brumos camp, Brian Till.
58 on pit road. David Donahue out. Darren Law. He said David can run himself ragged. He can be worn out when he gets out of the car. I have to conserve because I need to make sure I can make it to the end. Tires, fuel, making sure that the cool suit gets hooked up. and blowing out the radiators. I've seen a lot of grass and radiators on cars coming to pit lane as cars dropping wheels off. That grass comes onto the racetrack. These cars pick them up in their radiators. They've got to make sure they're clean. With over 100 degrees ambient down here and the track temperature probably around 150, can't afford anything in the radiators, guys.
Well, guys, we talk about the 45-minute rule that you have to stop at 45 minutes. We've talked about it all year, but the first time ever someone has been caught out on that, and it's our friend Big Steve Johnson, did not make it in by the 45 minutes. He then loses a complete lap as a result. So he's the first one to get bit.
That's a shame because Richard Westbrook was running in another sports car race yesterday, made the trip over, so it's a long way to come and then be hit with that penalty.
Valiente yet to hand over to Max Angelelli. He's doing a big first stint, working hard early in this race. And Darren Law behind the wheel of the 58 taking over from David Donahue. He knows about heat though. He's one of Chris Neville's neighbors in Scottsdale, Arizona. And that's coming your way at 8 p.m. Eastern. We welcome you back to Birmingham, Alabama. Lee Diffie along with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till and Chris Neville, the usual gang with you. And as we give you an overview of the remaining rounds on the Grand Am schedule, of course I mentioned Montreal, then we go back to Watkins Glen for the short race, the sprint race, and out to Infineon. Look forward to that. And a new event on the schedule, New Jersey Motorsports Park. Can't wait for that one. Let's go down to pit lane.
Kevin Buckler talking to his drivers on the radio right now, sitting up on the TRG War Wagon. Taking care of a little business. Kevin, when two cars get together on the racetrack, it's not supposed to be two of your cars. What happened?
No, that's not so good. You know, you don't want to pass judgment until probably we see some in-car stuff. I don't know what happened. I got two really good drivers in the car there, and they're both super careful with Craig and Jose Manuel, so I really don't know. You know, I know we're in pretty good position with 66 and 67 right now. Both cars are on the lead lap. We just brought 66 in for fuel. Good old Andy in there, full tank of fuel, and still on the lead lap.
I know it's hot today, and the car is going to be an issue, but what about the cockpit and the drivers? I've already seen two GT drivers down here on pit lane.
All right.
Yeah, it's I was surprised. I know there's some medical stuff. It's so hot, it's so humid. Can't tell on TV, but it's real miserable for the guys. If one of their cool suits fail, you know, it's going to be bad. So they're going to do their best. All these guys are in great shape, though. They're good athletes.
Let's get back to racing, guys.
End of our one and only yellow. Look at the pressure here on Pruitt. Valiente, his former teammate at Ganassi, putting the pressure on for that second spot. Meanwhile, Gurney has disappeared on the restart.
He has, and there's no love lost between these two guys, Pruitt and Valiente, so we'll have to see how this one works out.
And for Gurney, I mean, I wonder if they got anything done in the pit stop to get that clutch not to slip as much, or maybe by being behind the pace car, it's cooled down now and it's got some grip.
Absolutely, that caution should have helped that scenario, you would have to think, but it's all a mystery to me, Dorsey. That thing could be slipping like that and keep going.
Good spread of different race cars up the front. It's a Pontiac-powered Riley leading a Lexus-powered Riley, a Pontiac-powered Dallara in third, and then a Porsche-powered Riley in fourth. Joey Hand up high. First race in that different car, the new car for that team, and so far so good.
Look at Shane Lewis having another great run in the 3 machine. He is flying right now.
Bill Lester, his co-driver, never raced, never been to Barber Motorsports Park. The 75 is Eric Vanderpool. This is not for position. He's not in the mix at the front of this field. In fact, is down one lap at the moment, so he's trying to make up for lost ground.
All of the guys at the front of the pack are on a similar strategy. They all pitted between laps 19 and 27, so not a big difference there. Everything is pretty much as you see it. This is the battle for the lead, and the leaders are all running line astern.
And again, the 09 car guys, the Spirit Daytona car, doing a really good job. Marc-Antoine Cameron now behind the wheel of that car, pressuring.
Valiente has dropped way back from Pro. We saw that earlier in before we went to caution, so all is not well with the 10 car. You have to wonder about that strategy, not taking tires once again. And the other thing is when you stay out, you're going to get some pickup. To the inside, Joey Hand late on the brakes.
Oh, he's
got him, he's got him, he's got him. He pushes his way through down there in Charlotte's Web. Turn 5. Now they go side by side, but not for very long. Hand has got that position. He moves into the top 3.
And this is more or less a block to the inside, I think, by Valiente, not to be passed by more people.
Joey Hand and Bill Aublin just licking their lips. They want to go racing. There's 6 events, including this one, to go. Their championship season is far from over.
Here comes Wilkins. He's trying too.
This is Daytona all over again. Wilkins putting pressure on Valiente.
I think Valiente's car's not quite right, Calvin. I don't think that either the tires are up. Maybe he got some pickup on him when he went wide there.
Right. This is the pole-sitting machine. He's been flying all weekend long, and since that first pit stop, he has not shown the same pace.
And frustratingly, he's seeing Joey Hand just disappear. And speaking about Joey Hand, let's hear from his co-driver.
Bill, I know it's been a busy week for you guys changing over to the Riley, and it didn't look like you really had the speed, but right now Joey's running third.
Isn't that great? I mean, all in all, the team in 6 days built this car, this Riley, built it up. The car is great. We're learning how to control it and make it do what we want. It's now doing really good for Joey. He just moved up to third. I was up in the top. It drives to the front much easier than what we've had before. And this team is the greatest. You watch. We'll go to Ruby Tuesdays and celebrate after this one if we get it up there.
Looks like they might be buying some milkshakes tonight, guys.
Well, for once, Billy didn't give us the whole menu.
You think it's going to be the taco or the burger at home?
Wow.
No, he likes those crab cakes.
This is good. A good showing for Joey Hand and Billy Ormland to be back up the front. They're feeling good. We told you about the news, them switching from the Crawford chassis to the Riley. Just some news on Crawford is that Childress Howard Racing will be at Watkins Glen later this year with that new Crawford chassis. It will be Andy Wallace driving the car, yet to find out whether it will actually be a Richard Childress Racing Sprint Cup driver alongside him. We'll wait and see. Exciting news.
I think everyone in the paddock league wants to see those guys back. It was so hard to make that bodywork change, Dorsey, in the middle of the season. Not a lot of testing available. And the Ruby Tuesday team, they wanted to stay the course, but time was running out. They had to get some results quickly, hence the move to Riley.
They had their back up against the wall, Calvin, on all levels, on Porsche's level, so forth. For Max and Jan Crawford, they've got a great race car that just needs to be developed, and certainly with Childress coming on board, that's going to be a big story.
Well, the 10 is right in the thick of it. That's Michael Valiente. He just lost third place to Joey Hand. He's under pressure from Wilkins, but now has some breathing room. Let's hear from his team principal.
I know you guys were concerned that he was slipping back a little bit. Is there anything going on with the 10 cars? He just trying to get back up to speed after the caution?
No, this was pretty much the plan. You know, the track's really hot. Tires are moving around, but everything seems to be okay.
In that first pit stop, just about everybody else took tires and fuel. You guys didn't take tires. Good call, bad call?
I don't know. It's more expensive to put other tires on.
He's had an expensive year.
He has. Been a tough year for these boys. $2.5 million worth of damage in that truck and transporter fire that they had a couple of months ago, and they've really done a tremendous job to regroup. Brand new chassis that debuted at Daytona, this machine we're looking at. And again, the engineering staff there are brilliant. They've got the car up to speed immediately, and the drivers are responding too.
And there's a story here with the 07 of Kelly Collins. Not that it's looking a little bit out of shape, but that he's come from at the back of the GT field to the front. He was in the lead, but he's lost that lead to the 57 of Robin Liddell.
And look at the pressure from right behind. That was the pole-sitting Mazda, the Speed Source Syntec car. You know, Kelly, that car to me looked almost like it had that wiggle he got. Almost looked like he had tire
He's got
problems.
a lot of laps on those tires. He pitted on lap 1, so he's got 36 laps on those tires. And pitting early, that strategy, you really need a yellow before the 45, because you need everyone to slow down, close that gap back up. He didn't have that luxury, so they are really behind the 8 ball now in terms of strategy. Yes, they're running second, but they're going to have to pit pretty soon.
And I think that's what that wiggle was, Calvin. The fact that he's really out of tires right now. You saw when he got into the S's back there, the car was just wanting to turn around on him really quick.
Well, talking GT and a driver who used to race Daytona prototypes, now in the GT field, Mike Borkowski really feeling the heat after his opening stint, Brian, right?
Oh, it's brutal out there, and Mike has certainly driven all types of cars, as you just said. And Mike, I don't think it gets any hotter than it is today. I've not been to a track that it is. How bad is it in that car?
It's really hot. It's about as hot as it gets here. And, you know, we just got this car. We had to really rush to put it together, so we didn't really have time to do everything that our guys wanted to get done. So our car's we're probably running a little, maybe, we don't know, 20, 30 degrees hotter than probably when we get a week or two with this car to get it all set up. So that's why they have me starting and finishing. We figured we had to do 2 driver changes.
Now you're sitting here with EMS, you got an IV in your arm and ice packs around you. Are they going to let you get back in the car later?
They're not going to stop me. They're going to have to hold me back. I got the IV. I was dehydrated, but I got the IV. I want to make sure I was hydrated enough to get back in. So we got to get back up there. We got a decent car, and guys work really hard all weekend, so we want to try to get a good run for them.
Steve Dinan helping this team out this weekend really seems to have come alive. They had a good run going. No helmet blower, and the guy's just baking inside the car, as you can see with Mike Borkowski.
Well, Brian, from your conversation with Mike, I'd have him sit down there for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I don't think he's all the way up 100% back at it yet.
The car they're talking about is the BMW M6. We're talking Pontiac now in the 07. Chris, tell us more.
Well, I know you guys were speculating about tires on that car, and in fact, when we were under caution, they were getting ready to bring Kelly in, but then we went back to green, so they got kind of caught out there. I think they wanted to get Kelly out and get Paul Edwards behind the wheel, get a new set of tires. Just listening to him on the radio, so this team now looking for a window to try and get him out, get Paul Edwards behind the wheel. And when we were checking temps this week, we looked at all the GT cars too, and one thing we noticed about that banner car, because they run air conditioning through the seat, just like the Corvette ALMS team, they have the coolest seat in the GT field, only about 105 degrees compared to some cars that were up around 130.
Well, they are in damage control right now in terms of points, Chris. They have a 24-point lead in this championship. Unless things really turn around for them here today, they're going to have a big bite taken out of that.
This is the replay for the pass for second. Sylvain Tremblay. Whoa!
Boy, he was there. I don't know that Kelly knew that he was there at all. I mean, he turned right down on him.
Tried for second, didn't get it, but now he's there. So persistence paid off for Sylvain Tremblay, and these are the two teams going hard at it for that championship in the GT class in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. Who will get there in the end? Mazda, Porsche, and Pontiac. The three key fighters in the GT championship race. And we heard from Mike Borkowski a few moments ago.
Not bad though when you got a playmate pouring that water on your head.
Yeah, life's not too bad for Mike Borkowski, but as he said, he does have to get back in and do double duty. We'll see how he fares in the rest of the field when we come back on the other side of this. For those of you just joining us, let's bring you up to date. Start of the race earlier today. Look to your left. Former F1 driver Ricardo Zonta with a super pass on the inside of pole sitter Michael Valiente and was never headed. Took off from there, the GT class. It was pole sitter Nick Ham. Good, clear, clean sailing at the front there, and this was Zonta actually getting by him a little later in the race. But Zonta had such a clear run up front. He was never challenged, opened up more than a 10-second lead. Wasn't so cruisy for Jason France. He got hit by Eric Lux, and that was the view from Mark Patterson. Got the attention of many. And then Nick Johnson with a deflating front left tyre ran off track, and this was costly. This stage, this car should have been in the lead of the race. And then contact between the TRG teammates. Jose Manuel Gutierrez gets into Craig Stanton. Stanton escaped. And then Michael Valiente came under increasing pressure from Joey Hand, who forced it, and worked his way through. Valiente could no longer argue with the Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing Porsche. And then this battle intensifying for second in the GT class. Sylvain Tremblay and Kelly Collins, the championship contenders, get together, and in the end, Tremblay got by. So there you have it. We bring you up to date, and now there's less than a second separating first and second overall and in Daytona prototypes between Alex Gurney and Scott Pruitt, the two who gave us the closest finish in Grand Am history just a little while ago at Daytona International Speedway. 0.08 of a second separated these two cars in the favor of that one there, the 0-1 of Scott Pruitt.
Pruitt was a lot closer on the previous lap. However, traffic has played its part, and hopefully from Scott Pruitt's perspective, he plays the favor back in terms of Gurney maybe getting some trouble as well.
See that debris flag that the corner work was holding out, and there was the hunk of debris right in the middle of the straightaway. It looked like a piece of one of the cars out there, trying to alert the drivers that there's something up ahead.
Behind these boys, it's Joey Hand, Mark Wilkin, Michael Valiente, and how about a top 6 at the moment for Shane Lewis and the Southern Motorsports team? Let's hear from them.
Running in the 6th position right now, and Steve and Martha Southern run such a great program. Steve, you guys led at Daytona, which had to feel good. When you look at Bill Lester and Shane Lewis together, the driver pairing you put together, and the performance of this team this year, you got to be proud of what you guys have accomplished, but I know you want more.
Well, of course we want more. Everybody always wants more. You know, bringing Bill on at the beginning of the season, we really thought we had a good 1-2 punch as far as drivers were concerned, and we've been struggling a little bit trying to find the car, and that's been our biggest problem. And I don't know, maybe the heat and everything else that went along today, you know, we found maybe something in there. Nobody's running the pace they were running earlier in the week. The heat down here is just unbelievable. And it's going to take a toll on drivers and crew guys and everything else before the day's over.
Not a huge engineering budget, I know, at this team. A podium for you guys and to taste that champagne. How sweet would that be?
Well, it certainly would help us find a sponsor, if nothing else.
Great little team down here, and the effort that these guys put forth is first class, Lee.
Check it out at the front. At the front, Pruitt was really putting it on Gurney. We go back and we see the three here of Shane Lewis. He's in the mix with Michael Valiente. He just keeps going further and further forward.
It's a battle for 5th position, so what a job they're doing. And right behind them, the 09 car, Marc-Antoine Cameron, showing that Coyote potential here.
Ian James is in the mix. You see the black and red, the black and blue 6. There he is there, and here comes the Goose. Mark Goosens is immediately behind in 9th.
We have a question on the 6 machine. We believe John Pugh got out of that car, Dorsey, before the 30-minute mark, so that'll be a tough call for the team as to whether they want to get points for him today. They probably need to get him back in for a minute or two.
Yeah, right at the end of the race, probably. But in the meantime, I mean, this is a whale of a battle going on between all these teams. All these cars getting faster by every time they come out. They're getting closer to that front.
As you enjoy this, just to update you and keep you in touch with GT, it's the Stevenson Motorsports Pontiac of Robin Liddell that leads. Sylvain Tremblay is second, Kelly Collins still in third, and then Dirk Werner, Spencer Pumpelly, Andy Lally, they're all in the mix as well.
Shane Lewis is really hooked up through this section of the racetrack. Let's see if he can make a move on Valiente as they now come up to the GT traffic. You want to try and use those GT cars to pick. Shane Lewis tries to back off a little bit and get some momentum off that last corner.
Right thing to do. Back off, get a run going, try to drive it down inside turn 1. I don't think he's going to have the room to do it.
Oh, he goes for it.
Inside of turn 1. This is a very fast corner, and Shane Lewis pulls off a brilliant.
Exactly what I was talking about. Back off, get that run, drive it down into turn 1. He did it with traffic all around him.
That was beautiful.
He's a former bull rider. He knows how to get it done in 8 seconds.
Look at the Goose there. The 77 is off.
That's Brad Yeager.
Both Dalara's team cars are off. And those air intakes are just smothered, covered with grass.
Now, those air intakes are straight up and down, so we'll see. We always wondered what would happen if they came and they got off the racetrack, if they could shed that grass, unlike the radiators that sit further back in there. We'll find out.
Ricky Taylor there in the 47 car. What an impressive job he's done this year. Young man really has taken to these Daytona prototypes. Doesn't have a lot of high horsepower experience, but it doesn't matter. He's getting the job done.
Boys, remember what happened between those two cars at Daytona? The 47 of Ricky Taylor got into the 77 of Brad Yeager.
That was Oswaldo Negri right there when somebody in one of the GT cars got crossed up right in front of him. Racetrack getting slippery now, and no wonder. A lot of the grass and a lot of rocks. You see those debris flags. That's also called a slippery flag. Means something on the racetrack that might make the car slide.
Oz had a rough week. He's attacked by his own dog. That's not a good thing.
And the thing's a dark dachshund.
A little sausage dog.
Sausage bit it back.
He forgot to feed him or something.
He was at a party with a friend. He didn't know anybody at the party, and it was the house owner's dog that came by. And Oz was on one of those low chairs, and the dog took one look at him and bit him and put 23 stitches in his mouth.
I was going to get a hot dog and put little ears in the mouth on it. Give it to him. I just couldn't bring this up.
Here comes Darren Law's in that line.
Darren Law.
Darren's in the car now. Try to take advantage of the traffic that Oz was going through.
These guys are back in 9th and 10th, respectively. Let's go to pit road, Brian.
Brad Yeager. A lot of damage to the right front and a lot of grass on this Dallara as well, so they'll try to fix that damage and get Memo Gedley back on track. Chris?
The SunTrust car also in. Angelelli behind the wheel. A bit of a slow stop down here by the SunTrust boys. Guys that looked like Angelelli took a little bit of a long time getting behind the wheel, and then they just couldn't get the air jack out of the top of the roof to get the car back on the ground. So a little bit of a long stop under green flag racing.
Wow, right in front of the leader there, Alex Gurney. That wasn't pretty.
No, and now Pruitt trying to work the inside too. He wants to get by. That's the race for the lead that he's in the middle of.
They want to try and stay on that lead lap, and with 58 laps to go, that's a long stint to go on fuel, so they'll know their mileage, what they're getting. Were they forced into that pit stop, or did they make that call?
In the meantime, this Gurney car with this funny clutch problem, I don't know, Calvin, you and I have been talking about it at break. I don't know, I've never seen a clutch fix itself, but this car did it last year once, and looks like it's doing it again.
Scott Pruitt just sitting there. 6 races to go with a 40-point lead. They know if they finish on the podium every race, the championship is theirs, whatever Gurney and company does. So he'll be happy to sit there. But again, if you get by him, it's a 6-point swing in the points. You take 3 away from them, and you add 3 to your score.
Here's the 10. Max Angelelli now behind the wheel. Let's hear from the driver who just stepped from that car.
Well, a guy who's looking pretty fresh for being out there for so long, but was it the tires you guys didn't take earlier?
Yeah, it was in this heat. You know, we've been a little hard on tires all weekend in this heat. I was like a GT car out there compared to the prototypes. I couldn't do anything.
Well, we've still got a ways to go. Can you guys make it the distance, or is it definitely another stop?
I mean, the car is quick when it's on decent tires. You know, I had literally 0 tires there and was just dropping back.
He's kind of staying away from the fuel question there, guys, and I don't think this team can make it, and also, can Max Angelelli make it?
But there's right there, Michael Valiente looked quite fresh. Look, he wasn't sweating, his eyes were clear, he was very precise with what he wanted and what he did not want to let us know. Right. And so, I mean, now we'll see what it's all about.
So it's still Gurney leading this race by less than a second over Scott Pruitt. Joey Hand is 3rd, Mark Wilkins 4th, and Shane Lewis maintaining that brilliant top 5 from Camarand, James, Goosens, Negri, and Law. That's your top 10. And then you go back to the 10 of Max Angelelli, a lap down. Being punished by not taking tyres earlier in this race when they had the opportunity to. Will Pruitt go for the win? Will he be allowed to? And how will everyone last the distance? It's brutal. 100 degrees plus here in Alabama. That is Jeff Siegel, and that car has flipped big time.
Now there's a full course that will probably end up ending under, unfortunately.
First thing I thought was, oh man, it's going to finish under yellow, and I just hate it. I mean, I hate it for the fans, I hate it for the racing, I hate it for everyone. Things finish under yellow, it's just horrible.
They're coming round to face a 1-lap sprint. This will be it. Will we see a savage, desperate move from the master, Scott Pruitt?
We were a little concerned, obviously, on one of the previous restarts, Scott had gotten by us.
Pruitt's close. Can he make a move down here into the braking zone?
Pruitt is not letting Gurney get away. This is not done yet.
Both of us had to get through the bus stop quick. If he made a mistake, game's over.
I knew when I got to the chicane that I probably didn't have enough gap.
He could have tried to challenge me for the high side, and it would have been a big crash.
In the end, you know, he was close enough, and
I knew that the differential and the amount of downforce drag that we had between the 2 cars, we're going to get it done.
You know, that's the way it worked out. He swung on by.
If I was racing for points, I would have just sat back and got second.
Pruitt gets it! 0.08 of a second was the winning margin. Just when the Gainsco boys thought they had it, so did we. And there you have it, the 3 closest all-time finishers in Grand Am Rolex Series history, and there seems to be a common name in there, doesn't it? Scott Pruitt involved in all of them, and all in Daytona prototype racing.
When you run 19 races, you're normally involved in the finishes being close. What a performance he has done over the course of his Daytona prototype career, Dorsey, just remarkable. And goes from strength to strength. He's out front once again.
Yeah, it's any career, not just a Daytona prototype. This guy's done it all, seen it all, and he's still at it.
And the reason why he's out in front, the 99 pitted while we're in that last commercial break. And this is Kelly Collins. Now this guy is a fitness guru. He is incredibly fit. And that just shows you the torture that these drivers are being put through here today in Alabama. He did the first 53, 54 laps of this race.
And Calvin, that's why I say when people ask, do you miss driving? No, I don't miss that at all.
It is so tough with those front engine cars. I mean, it is brutal. The heat soak that you get through that firewall, up through the pedals. We saw those stats earlier. Just tremendous, like 115, 130 degrees on the pedals. The firewall is literally on fire.
And you've done it.
Really tough conditions.
It melts your shoes. Your shoe soles melt to the pedals. They're so hot.
You go to the brake pedal and you just want to get off it because it's like putting your foot in a fire. I mean, it's unbelievable the conditions that these drivers are having to go through here today at Barber. And coming here in July, you're going to expect it. this is the season for the hot, sticky stuff.
Stopping during that last commercial break under green flag conditions has dropped the 99 Gainsco Pontiac to 9th place. So it's Pruitt, Hand, Wilkins, Lewis and James, the top 5. Here's the stop during the break.
And the bad news is the boys down on the pits told us that when the car came by after that pit stop that the clutch was indeed still slipping.
You'd have to wonder what sort of lap times they'd be running if they didn't have that slipping clutch. So that's got to be frustrating to this team. And the big question is, can these boys make it on fuel? I mean, I think they're really stretching things by trying to go like 56 laps because that's a long way to go. It's a big stint, but I can't believe they'd be stopping if they didn't feel they could do it.
Time to hear from Kelly Collins. He's with Chris.
Well, guys, first going back to the 99, I talked to that team and then listening to them on the radio. They think they can do it, but they're really going to have to try and lean that car out. They're telling Alex, you know, exactly how many miles per gallon he needs to be doing out there. He needs to take it easy. And yes, the clutch is still slipping. It slips more when he comes off of pit lane for those first couple laps, and then it starts kind of getting back into the rhythm of something that he can drive. So he's complaining about that slip, but the team is hoping that in a couple laps it won't be slipping as much. Kelly Collins looking a little bit better now after having about 5 minutes here to cool off. Kelly, how bad is it?
It's pretty hot out there. We had to run with the AC off. The car was overheating the whole time, but the Banner Racing Pontiac GXP is running good. We felt a little bit, went for a gamble, hoping for another yellow. When we started dead last, we were in the lead, but we didn't get it. My tires were going off. And we had some banging around out there. Luckily, nothing's wrong with the car. It's just hot. I'm going to try to get ready to go back out. Again, in case Paul gets hot, go take some more performance drink.
Well, these guys fighting hard to get back towards the front. They're good to go on fuel. Now, also the 57, the Stevenson car has been reporting that they are running with some high temps. So Robin Liddell trying to take it easy with that car, keep it out in clean air, and keep those temps down.
Well, the 01 just made their pit stop, and critically, Dorsey, the 99, beat them. In essence, their pit stop was obviously a little bit quicker there, or maybe Scott caught traffic on his in-lap. But meanwhile, Gurney is still out front, so there's still hope for this Gainsco team as they're trying to hunt these guys down in the championship chase.
And if they're telling Alex to lean the motor down to try to get some better fuel mileage, it'll help the clutch slip situation because the engine won't at that point be making as much power. So hopefully the two things will help Alex keep this car out front.
And these guys could have gone a little bit further in terms of how much fuel was in the tank, but again, you run the gamble of catching a yellow, and then essentially pit lane closes, and then if you're in the lead, you're going to lose all of the advantage you have, and then you're going to have to make your pit stop. So once you get in that fuel window, if one of the other leaders have made their stop, you pretty much have to follow suit, otherwise you're playing a big gamble.
And on those pit cycles, that means the 23 Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing Porsche Riley inherits the race lead. This is Joey Hand up front.
And it's been a long time since Ruby Tuesday Racing has been up front. And of course, this is the first time out for their new Riley chassis. This team threw the entire hat in the ring. They went in, started a new chassis, built this car, 700 hours to put this thing together. No test time. It unloaded here, and now it's lead.
Two-time race-winning team and car this year. This is Robin Liddell for Stevenson Motorsports, doing a good job. Now, they don't have any AC, they just have the blower on there, they have the helmet blower. However, Andrew Davis was telling me earlier today that the team have worked really well. The guys have done a great job in the shop at making the footbox area cooler. You might like to expand on how important that is.
Well, it really is. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, when you put in the foot, particularly on a GT car, you're on the brakes a lot longer than a DP car, for example, and you just get this heat soak. It's like having a hot torch placed on the bottom of your foot. You're on that brake pedal, you need high brake pressure, and it's just really just burning a hole in your foot, literally. Here you see the 70 machine having a great run as well. Sylvain Tremblay currently running in second, coming off the back of that Daytona victory. But Robin Liddell said about that Pontiac that runs up front, since we made that weight change in terms of getting the 100 pounds, and particularly Dorsey, that weight bias change, he said, we can no longer attack. We have to wait for things to happen. We can't attack like we could early in the season.
You know, normally when you get a weight adjustment, they'll give you 100 pounds, say, which is what the Pontiac got, but they'll just give you 100 pounds. You can put it where you want it. Not in this case. What they did in this case was they said, you take the 100 pounds front percentage higher than the rear, which really upsets the car's balance. That's the first time I've ever heard that mandated.
Further to what you're talking about, Dawes, have a look at this graphic we've got for you since those rule amendments to the Pontiac. Now, the pivotal round was the 6 hours of Watkins Glen, and the GXP cars, as you can see there, won 5 of the first 6 GT races. No wins since.
The overall weight of the vehicle is not as high of an importance as is the distribution of that weight, front to rear.
GT class leading car over Sylvain Tremblay and Dirk Werner. So it's Pontiac, Mazda, Porsche, 1, 2, 3 in GT. We need to go to a quick break, but we'll be back. You're watching Grand Am Sports Cars on Speed. We're back live here on Speed, and we're under caution, sad to say, because of this in the Porsche 250. Mamo Gidley and his Kodak Ford-powered Dallara on fire.
You see, there is Mamo Gidley on the guardrail, the door open, so he's okay out of the car, but we saw the car fully, the back of it, on fire. Watch here. Do you see the smoke already, Calvin? Something come loose in the back of that car, maybe an oil line.
Well, they had that contact, remember, with the 47, so sometimes that'll disrupt something, maybe break an oil cooler or something.
And there it goes. Knights, whatever it is.
Brian, tell us more about this situation.
Checked in with Kevin Dorn, guys. That car had been running hot. They had been off track several times, forced off by other cars, and he said we got forced off, engine overheated, and that probably led to it. Perhaps, as you said, Dorsey, maybe broke something loose, but the car had been running well over 300 degrees, and it just finally went up.
Yeah, Brian, definitely right before it caught fire, it started spewing something out of the back. Oil line or something came loose, and didn't take much with that heat to ignite it.
Well, I think, Dorsey, maybe the car had overheated and the engine blew. I think that's what Kevin was alluding to with the high temperatures. The engine finally just gave up the ghost and blew. Maybe that was oil out the back, and maybe that ignited on the headers.
Yeah, it could have been a rod or something out of it, because for sure it wasn't out of the. It was not out of the exhaust system. It was forward of that, up on the engine bay where the fluid came out.
When this yellow flew, Joey Hand was the race leader. Go, Chris.
He still is, Lee, but the team was really hoping that he was going to be able to get back to pit lane prior to the yellows coming out. They were ready for him. Bill Auberland ready to get back in that car, but the yellow came out before Joey got to the pit entrance, so he's going to have to wait to get stacked up behind the pace car, and then as soon as pit lane opens up, most likely they'll come in and get Bill Auberland back in that car, because Joey is really suffering with the heat in that new chassis. They've been working so hard to get it ready for the racetrack that they haven't been able to spend a lot of time on driver comfort, keeping the guys cool.
That's a crushing blow to their track position. We'll have to wait and see how the result turns out, but I know that Bill Auberland was geared up. He was ready to get in. The pit stop was imminent, but that is rolling the dice. When you have the lead of the race and the other front runners have pitted, you know, pit lane being closed, Dorsey, this is what is going to happen. He has to wait. He's going to do his pit stop. Everyone who's already made them immediately leapfrogs them in terms of track position.
And it's hard to make up on this racetrack, as we've seen.
We'll drop to about the bottom of the top 10, I would imagine.
Now this particular, see how the visor's up on this driver? That's something you do when you're hot. And normally when it's Joe Foster in the car, when you're under green flag, you'll push that visor down in case you do have a fire, in case you do have something, stones or whatever, come up inside there. But under pace lap, you lift it up like this, get that little bit of air. It's not a lot of air, but it helps. That's Oz.
Probably trying to get
see if you can see where the dog bit his nose.
Yeah. I thought it was his own dog. I got the story wrong, so at least you hate to see your own dog bite you.
Yeah, that's not a good situation. Here's Sylvain Tremblay looking for another win. Crank up those points in the challenge against the Banner Racing Pontiac GXPRs.
Sylvain Tremblay, hey, this is Dorsey Schrader up in the speed booth. You got me?
Dorsey, I got you. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How's everything going for you? It looks like it's going pretty good.
It's going real good. I mean, you know, strategically speaking, we talked about maybe putting Nick back in like we did at Lime Rock. You know, he's fresh and get back into the end, so we may stop and do a driver change. But it's a little warm here in Alabama today.
Well, you're currently in second. The Pontiac up in front of you right now, Robin Liddell. You got anything for him?
I believe we do. I mean, obviously, you know, Nick put this thing on the pole with a fantastic lap. I think we got something for those Stevenson boys.
Good, man. Thanks, Sylvain. Have a good ride. We'll be watching.
Say hi to all the fans, and we love all the support that the Mouse of Speed Ken Dorsey Tech gets. Thanks, Dorsey.
Leaders in. Chris, go for it.
Well, we can see Joey Hand getting out of the Ruby Tuesday car, Bill Auberling getting back in, the team putting fresh tires and fuel on this car. Now, the one good thing they're going to have is when they do get out of pit lane, they're going to be directly behind some of the leaders at that point because the leaders are way at the back of the queue. So the team does have that going for them. And the other thing, they're going to be on a little bit fresher tires than everybody else, too.
Yeah, they're going to be strong, and the 09 is in as well. Another driver change there.
Down in spirit of Daytona, Guy Cosmo getting back in after he got out of the car early on. He said there is no way that Marc-Antoine Cameron can take this to the checkered flag. It is just too brutally hot today. We're definitely going to be doing 2 driver changes. That's what they're doing. He went back to the trailer, got rehydrated, came out, and he said, boys, you were right. Our pedals are on fire. Over 137 degrees, as we had documented earlier. He said, every time I go to the brake pedal, it is downright painful. We're going to take this Porsche-powered Coyote and see what we can do with it today. This team really coming on strong lately.
Guy Cosmo and Marc-Antoine Cameron, who have been racing together since they were kids in go-karts, all the way through to become teammates at the Spirit of Daytona racing team. As we always like to do, we make the most of this yellow, this caution period. We'll squeeze in another quick commercial break and then come back, and hopefully we'll see green. Remember, next up, it's the GT cars' turn to hit pit road, do their respective services, and then race to the end. Make sure you remember Speed Swag when you're thinking of a gift for somebody special. SpeedTV.com, the keyword swag. And with summer being here, there's lots of great stuff to get. Tees, caps, jackets, plenty more. Speed Swag, SpeedTV.com. While we're under caution, we want to show you something that's been going on this weekend. We had a fun night, all in the name of charity, to raise money for Camp Boggy Creek, the official charity of Grand Am Rolex Series competition. And we had a little fun night, a little bit of poker last night in the museum. That was Dorse playing poker just like how he used to drive, win or bin, win it all or lose it all. And Brian and Chris had very spectacular looking shirts on, very colourful. And Dorse did win the opening hand and then lost it all in the next.
That blew up.
So we're under yellow, working our way back to green. How will this one play out? It's Gurney and Pruitt again at the front.
No.
Will it stay that way? Look at the 61. It's well poised. And Brian Frizzell not letting the more experienced boys get away in the lead up to this restart. Ian James pulls out of the line, looking to get a little bit of a head start.
Now, will that clutch slip? If it does, Pruitt's going to be on top.
They said after a pit stop it was slipping more. It took a couple of laps to get going again. Again, we still don't understand the mechanicals of why that is able to keep Alex Gurney at the front of this pack with a problem.
Loose, a little loose there for Darren Law. He's running in 4th place. Keep an eye out for the Silver Riley. There it is in the background. Here comes the Goose. Mark Goosens got by Ian James.
Throw it to the inside.
Fight is on at the front.
He had to check up there, Dorsey. He got his nose in there. There was no room. He checked up. Gurney pulled the gap again.
Pruitt's a clean driver. He could have made contact, spun Gurney out, but he didn't. He's not the way he does things.
Law is in the mix. Remember, he said to his teammate, just go for it, to David Donahue. He did. They're well positioned. Then it's Goosens, then James. Negri's in the mix. Bill Auberling back in the car. Then Angelelli and Cosmo. That's your top 10.
I say Pruitt's a clean driver in that, but these guys have had it out before, haven't they? I mean, remember last year, championship run out at in Miller.
Got ugly there. Brian Frizzell is having a great run here. And Ian Willis told me a couple of races ago, he said, my young drivers are going to school, but they are learning fast. And he'll watch the Masters up front and see what they're up to.
Dorsey raised the question about the clutch in the 99 before. Chris, have you got more?
Well, just listening to the radio traffic between the team and Alex, they've been saying they're still trying to kind of figure this clutch thing out too, and they're speculating that maybe they've got a little bit of an oil leak in that car, and that oil has gotten on the clutch, and maybe that's why when the car kind of sits around in pit lane, it starts slipping a little bit, but then once it gets going on the racetrack, then the clutch that kind of comes back into its own. So the team's still scratching their heads trying to figure out what exactly is going on with the clutch. But right now, Alex Gurney able to keep that car out front, and I think these guys are going to be over the hump on where they were with the fuel situation.
Well, that's interesting right there. I mean, they had caution, so that's going to help their situation. But if that clutch is slipping very much at all, Calvin, that's going to hurt fuel mileage a lot.
It really will, and there you see Pruitt really starting to put the pressure on. He's looking to the inside.
Down to turn 7. It's a drag race for the lead, and he tucks back in. on Alex. Does not force the move. In saying that's a very difficult place down there to execute a move.
And Brian Frizzell keeping the pressure on Pruitt, too. I mean, he was tucked up in there in case something happened.
This is good. It's good stuff. All 3, all 4 at the front. Riley chassis cars, 5 at the front. Make it. Different power plants, though. Pontiac, Lexus, then the Ford.
Pruitt no longer has the luxury of just sitting back and watching. He's going to feel the pressure, as you said, Dorsey, immediately. If he just sits back and wait, that will force his hand a little bit.
Being in the mix must be a nice feeling. How's David Donahue handling it? Let's find out.
David Donahue watching the screen right now as Darren Law goes to work out there. I know you guys struggle with the balance of the car this weekend, and you also said the engine didn't like the heat, but right now the car seems to certainly have the legs and be able to run with the front guys.
Well, yeah, it's easy for us to say that sitting here nice and relatively cool here in the pits. But yeah, Darren's doing a great job. We did struggle the first day out here. We were way at the bottom of the charts. And our comments on the car were pretty much the same as everybody in the field, except we were at the bottom and they were at the top. So the guys did a great job holding it together, not getting too discouraged. And you know, the first session, the second day, we were at P3, so it was a good recovery. We didn't qualify where we wanted to, but the car's running okay, even with the sort of unscheduled stops that we've had so far.
And it's good. I mean, it's brutal out there. It's going to be a long stop or a long stint for Darren. You going to be good to go to the end?
I certainly hope so. We prepared for this to some degree. I didn't run a cool suit just so we had some ice that would last the whole distance. So hopefully he'll be able to stay cool and he's well hydrated. We put some ice water in that last short stop. So, you know, he's a tough guy. Hopefully he'll go the distance.
Darren said earlier they would burn David down just to make sure he had something left at the end. Down here in the pits, J.C. France also plugged into his cool suit as he sits and eats a banana and watches the rest of the race. So the team tried to take it easy while the rest of the boys are out at work.
There's no burning this guy down, though. Look at the 91. The Riley Matthews, Pontiac Riley, Mark Goosens coming on strong. Jim Matthews tried so hard in qualifying yesterday, didn't give up, improved by 1 position at the end of qualifying. Did that make a difference? That determination has really spurred Mark Goosens on to help his co-driver, work with his co-driver, and they'd be loving this. He wasn't as optimistic as usual, Mark Goosens. He didn't think they had a chance this weekend, but now look at it. He's running 5th and pressuring Law for 4th.
Someone Gurney wants to look. He wants to look back and see this big skirmish. 5 cars duking it out for 2nd place right here.
Goosens and Matthews have had a slump recently. 3 races where they haven't seen the top 10. That was on the back of 3 consecutive podiums, including that great win down in Mexico City. So they're on the rebound.
Oh, drama here. 75 is in the mix. And that is Eric Vanderpool in the 68 again. And this is Jose Manuel Gutierrez. 2nd accident we've seen Jose Manuel involved in today.
You see a tire mark right there next to the door, Calvin. So definitely there's been contact. Doors closed. And Eric gets the car back going again. So no full course on this one. He'll get going.
Hasn't been a smooth season for Eric. He said, I need to get through one of these races without getting a penalty.
Damaged left rear suspension's knocked in.
That day will be done. So just can't seem to catch a break there with the 75 machine on the back of the 76 issues, where they're running so strong. Nick Johnson currently way down in 17th spot, having lost a lap there.
Now, can he get that car back to the pits without blowing that whole bodywork off, which might, in fact, then bring out a caution? I mean, that's a long way to go with that wheel knocked off. There's the damage on the Porsche. Not too bad for that car, 68.
All right, let's take you back and show you a replay, Dors. Cal, have a really close look, and we'll see if we can find out a little more.
Oh, there's a lot of people playing games. Whew. The 09 might have escaped there. I think he did. But there was a big stack up, Calvin.
Yeah, Eric was already backwards and going the wrong way.
Look at the front tire wasn't rolling on 68, so it did take a hit. Oh, he's going pretty quick. If that tire blows.
So frustration for Eric Vanderpool at his first visit to Barber Motorsports Park as the TRG 68 returns to pit lane for Jose Manuel and Scott Schrader in his first doubleheader weekend. Coney Challenge yesterday and Grand Am GT competition here. So the Chrome car makes it back to pit lane. That's at least something for Eric Vanderpool. Meanwhile, at the front, it's still tight. Gurney and Pruitt and Frizzell hanging in there over Darren Law and Goosens, yet to make a move.
Well, it made it, Calvin. He didn't blow the tire out. He didn't lose the bodywork, but he's not going to get that fixed either.
You wouldn't think so. I mean, it'll take several minutes to change the pieces on that left rear corner. They're not in the thick of the championship chase, so the one thing you don't want to do is send a car that has not been thoroughly checked over and they send him straight back to the garage area. Get more guys working on the car, certainly. When they're not in pit lane, they'll make a determination. Maybe we'll see him back today.
Aboard the race leader. He really put in an Iron Man performance here last year, did Alex Gurney, and he's being asked to do it once again. Lap 72 of 109, and at the moment we are still on laps as opposed to time. Can he hang in there? Back-to-back wins. There's never been a repeat winner in the Daytona prototype era here at Barber. We'll find out. Pole position and race win to the Pontiac GXPR. Well done to Stevenson Motorsports. Pontiac is victorious. They've done it again. The Pontiac boys, awesome performance. This is going to be 4 wins in a row for the Pontiac GXPR. The Banner boys celebrate. Back-to-back wins, and that makes it 5 straight for the Pontiac GXPR. Yeah, quite the start to the season, wasn't it, for the Pontiac GXPRs, whether it be the Banner Racing team or the Stevenson Motorsports team. And here we have Robin Liddell maintaining his lead. He's got just under 4 seconds over the number 70 Speed Source Engineering car, Nick Ham behind the wheel. But guess who's coming in third? Andy Lally is on a move. Now, Liddell was in the middle of something pretty interesting while we're in that last commercial break. Take a look at this, boys. Look to the right.
Oh, traffic jam, Calvin. There's 4 cars in a place. There's Goosens inside of the 58 making contact. All bits of carbon fiber blowing around there.
That was so aggressive. Looking at the big picture there, you got a GT car. You know they're not going to go through the corner the same. And there you see it from behind. Just stuffs it down the inside of Darren Law. He won't be happy with that move. Ian James in the blue car trying to take advantage.
Boy. And of course, that's the class leader. That is Robin Liddell right there. It's Stevenson's Motorsports car. The little team that could, man, they have impressed me this year.
Chris Neville.
A very fresh Andrew Davis watching his teammate cruise around there. Now we know that there might be some overheating issues with the 57. Is Robin going to be able to hang on?
Yeah, I think he'll be able to hang on. There are some overheating problems even when I was out there at the beginning. Anytime we were up behind traffic, the car was going up in engine temp. But as long as we're clear of traffic, it goes down. So hopefully he can stay out front. We should be okay.
Hopefully these guys can grab a win at a track where everybody thought the Pontiac would be strong. Now just a quick update on the 99. Listening to Alex Gurney, he is telling the team right now that the clutch is really giving up.
Have a look at this at the front of the field. Brian Frizzell has got by Scott Pruitt and is pushing to take the lead of this race. Maybe this could be the turning point for AIM Autosport. The weekend where they're not in the spotlight, they're not grabbing poles, they're not on the front row, they're back in the shadows, and they make their move like this. Look at Brian Frizzell on Alex Gurney, rounds him up down into turn 5, but that is not the place to be. Alex will hold the lead.
But Alex has got a badly slipping clutch. That means he's not going to get power down right here. Here comes Frizzell.
Pruitt's car looks loose before. We saw him get a little bit sideways a couple of laps ago. He couldn't get the power down. Frizzell to the outside.
Wow, they're sharing the spoils. We saw Mark Wilkins at Daytona put lead. Now Brian Frizzell has his moment in the limelight.
Alex is in a sitting duck position. That clutch is slipping. It's going to be Pruitt by next.
Brian Frizzell, second-generation racer. His father is a Sebring winner, and Brad Frizzell celebrated his 60th birthday. Tomorrow it is.
Wow,
I thought it was this week. It's tomorrow, so what a birthday present for Dad.
Frizzell has just taken off. Forget the first podium finish. How about a win? The AIM Motorsport team been knocking on the door all season long, made the switch to the Ford power plant this year. Really just upped their game, coming out strong at Daytona and a factor ever since.
Chris, what does his co-driver think of that?
Well, he's got his fingers crossed down here, hoping hopefully today Lady Luck will be on your side. But how ironic a track that both you and Brian said is your worst.
I don't know what to say. I mean, we've been chasing setup all weekend, and we've really been off the pace. And it wasn't until we got that first set of new tires. I mean, we started on our qualifiers, and we had some work to do on those. We were sliding all over the place a bit, but then we went to the stickers, trying to save our tires till the end, and it looks like it's paying off. Brian's doing a spectacular job. The car's fantastic. Ian and Jim just worked their magic again, and hopefully we can stay there.
Let's just keep our fingers crossed. It'd be so nice to see these guys break through.
Did you see that? Did you see that? And now it's on here. Pruitt gets Gurney, but Darren Law gave a payback to the Goose. Turn 5 on the inside. He said, I'm going to do what you did to me.
Yeah, how you like it this time? You feel how that feels, you know? And in the meantime, like I said, right now Alex Gurney is the one who's a sitting duck. That clutch getting worse. But let's replay that. That was a payback. It was perfect.
This is DP action at its best. Look at Darren Law slicing to the inside. Gooseness tries to protect. There isn't a lot of room. They trade some paint. Meanwhile, Pruitt's looking to the inside of Gurney. Darren's through. Now as they come off that corner, Pruitt gets the power down. He'll make the move into the next corner.
You see Law? He sprint carded off turn 5. It was sideways. The back was out, but we're under yellow again. Full course yellow.
And this is debris. There's a big hunk of something over in turn 5, so I'm going to stop this pace for a minute. But was that fantastic or not? That's the way we like to see it.
How about Brian Frizzell? Fantastic. These are the kids. 24 years of age, Frizzell and Wilkins. They're playing with the big boys, and they're showing them how to do it right now.
Calvin, you know what that's like. Right there's a piece of debris. You know what that's like. You take the lead, all of a sudden you just take this gulp of air and you go, I'm winning. And the adrenaline goes right to your heart, and then look out, I'm going to win. It's so cool.
How bad is the 99? It's starting to flail, isn't it? We'll find out. We're going to take a break. Under this yellow, we'll be back. Lots more. Far from done yet here at Barber. A 250-mile event is going to come down to the last half a lap. Here comes the Chevy-powered Doran now. JC France blocks him. Forcella goes one way, then the other. This is pressure stuff on JC France. Forcella down the inside run.
He's got it.
He's got him.
He's got it. He's got it. He's going to stay there.
Forcella.
He's going to stay there. He's going to stay there.
While France still he spins. He had to hold on to it.
Beautiful move, Terry. That was a beautiful pro move by Terry. Absolutely perfect.
And we have a change for the lead on the run to the checkered flag. 2 corners left to run, and Terry Forcella has done it. This is it. Our 3rd different manufacturer victory. The Chevrolet-powered Doran does it. Look at the Bell Motorsports team. Forcella wins at Barber.
Happy birthday, Calvin!
Oh, not again. Not again.
Did they tell the girls that you're 50?
39 next week, Dawes.
How old are you? Because you always used to lie on your racing license. So how old are you for real?
I am officially 47 next week.
You're not as old as me, that's for sure.
Just getting back to that 2003 race, I remember that like it was yesterday. Enjoyed that final call with our old friend Jack Baldwin, who is actually our chief spotter here today. Doing a good job working with our director and talking about taking a walk down memory lane. This is the 75th race in the Daytona prototype era. The inaugural race for the class was won by David Brabham, David Empringham, and Scott Maxwell won the class at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We skip ahead to the 25th race, and it was won by the SunTrust boys. Look at that old color scheme. And that was with Emmanuel Collard, Max Angelelli, and of course team principal Wayne Taylor. Fast forward to the 50th race, and it was the Ganassi boys in the Comp USA car when Scott Pruitt was then teamed with another Mexican driver, and it was, of course, Luis Diaz. So a Ford-powered Multimatic, then to the Pontiac-powered Riley, then the Lexus-powered Riley, and this brings us here to the 75th race. Will it be won by a Ford-powered Riley belonging to AIM Autosport and Brian Frizzell?
Here you see some of the DP drivers starting to weave around. The key is you may get some pickup on the tires. Those little balls of rubber that sort of like lay off to the side off the racing line is very important as Brian Frizzell now starts to weave around trying to clean those tires off. They're not trying to get tire temperature. It's so hot out there. The track temperature is off the charts here today. They're just trying to clean the tires off, Dawes.
And with it being this hot, Calvin, those pieces of rubber that are laying around out there, as it gets hot like this, it's like bubble gum. It's like stepping on bubble gum, getting on your shoe. It wants to stick to it, and they're trying to get all that greasy stuff off of there right now.
Look at Pruitt messing with Brian Frizzell a little bit. He has dropped way back, and when you're out front as a young driver looking for that first victory, you think you're doing the right thing, Dorsey. It's like, why is the master way back there? What does he know that I don't?
I hate that feeling.
We mentioned to you before the break, never been a repeat winner here at Barber in the Daytona prototype era. Look at those wonderful names. Terry Borchello, the inaugural Daytona prototype champion, winning with his then teammate Forrest Barber in that 03 race we just saw. Colin Brown now gone on to Roush Fenway Racing in NASCAR and doing a great job with Jörg Bergmeister. Elliott Forbes Robinson, the sports car racing legend, and Butch Leitzinger winning. There has been a multiple winner though in GT, and it is the multi-time series champion Andy Lally sharing a couple of wins, doing a good job. So look forward to that. And also Justin Marks won as well. So we're ready to go back to racing. Are you? We'll see if this talented young driver can hang on with the master in his rear view mirror.
There is a lot of racing to go, just under 40 minutes. This isn't a 5-lap sprint. This is a big stint to put together.
And that's a pertinent point, Cal. We've changed from laps now to time because of this most recent yellow. It is officially a timed race. Less than 40 minutes to go. And it's a Ford-powered Riley out front. Brian Frizzell sees the green flag first. We go.
Gurney looked to be in trouble back there, Dorsey. The red machine is way back. Look at the gap. Gurney's got swallowed.
Yeah, it's swallowed up and the clutch is slipping. He's got nothing he can do. Nothing he can do right now.
Just hanging on, trying to hang on and limp to the end. This is frustration for the Gainsco gang.
And think about the championship implications. Pruitt's running second right now. Gurney just falling further back.
Teammates at it. Oswaldo Negri. Oh, and look at Angelelli forcing his way through on the inside. In the 10 SunTrust Delara.
Oh, pushes Oblin out. He won't like that. Oblin will come back at him, I guarantee you.
Look at him side by side. They're going to bump. I guarantee you these guys are going to get together again.
He's got the line for 7 Dorse, hasn't he? And executes the move. Goosens, Ian James, Oswaldo Negri, Bill Oblin, and then Max Angelelli, followed by the 09 of Guy Cosmo.
Marc-Antoine Cameron in the middle of that too, so he's all over the back.
Chris, go for it.
Lee, a very frustrated Alex Gurney on the radio right now talking with his crew. I think he really wanted to come in, take advantage of that caution, and see if they could do anything with the clutch, but the team opted to keep him out, and he's frustrated. He's yelling at the team saying, guys, I told you, now we're going backwards.
I stand corrected. It's Guy Cosmo that's back in the 09 car. He's being aggressive too, right at the back of this frame.
Angelelli looks at Oblin. You're talking about 8th and 9th, and the 99 is off track. The day is done for the Gainsco boys. Look at them whip on by, and he's trying to stay out of harm's way. This is huge for the championship.
Well,
massive.
Here's the deal. If they got it back to the pit lane, nothing could have been done anyway. I mean, it's used up. Calvin, we were surprised it went that far.
We are. We've seen them do it once before. I can't recall which race it was last year, Dorsey, but it's very unusual. When the clutch is slipping like that, it typically gets worse and worse and will just disintegrate literally, and it looks like Alex has finally lost all drive. You could see from his head shake there, the wind is literally out of his sails. He took the body blow last race at Daytona. Now he takes a mechanical here today.
Let's hear the thoughts of team owner Bob Stallings.
Bob Stallings just on the radio with Alex, giving a couple final words there, Bob. Obviously a day you didn't want, but how hard was that call to leave him out, not bring him in, and take a look at that clutch under caution?
Well, I mean, there's really nothing else we could do. This is the same problem, or a similar problem we think that we had at Laguna last year. They're just kind of hoping we could hang in there. We were hoping that we could just at least finish and grab some points, but unfortunately the clutch just was done.
Well, think about that, guys. If they had possibly brought him in, took a look at it, given up some track position, and maybe given him something at least to drive around with, he wouldn't be stuck out there finishing last.
I don't think they could have done anything, Chris. You see Gurney in the car. He's gutted. I mean, he usually went out of that car. It's so hot in there, but he is really just completely emotionally spent.
Darren Law chasing after the points leader, Scott Pruitt, and have a look at that. They extend a 40-point lead, and they blow it out to 54. That's points as of now, though. Points as of now. And look at how close Jim Matthews and Mark Goosens would get to the 99. Stick around. So much more to come from Barber. Hey, on Thursday, you can catch back-to-back episodes of the all-new series Wreck. Did you see the season premiere? That's all about life in the crash lane. Accidents never take a day off, and danger never sleeps. You can catch the cleanup with Wreck Thursday at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. We welcome you back to Barber Motorsports Park here in Birmingham, Alabama. This wonderful complex founded by George Barber, and what a wonderful job he's done with it. And it's hosted some amazing races, both 2 wheels and 4 over the years. We've got a great sports car race going on here. And Bill Riley, a sports car legend himself. What are his thoughts on his car, Brian?
Well, remember, Mark Goosens had that great victory earlier in the year with Jim Matthews, but we saw him taking the car to the front, Bill, but Mark seems to have stalled, and now he's moving backwards. Is he okay?
He's pretty overheated. You know, he was calling in on that last yellow. He's pretty hot and all that, but Jim Matthews was ready to get in if we need to at the end, but it's just way too hot here.
I know we've been talking about ambient temperatures and the cockpit temperatures and such. You guys monitor cockpit temperatures. How warm is it in the 91 right now?
I think right now it's 115 degrees.
That is not cool by any stretch of the imagination, but Bill Riley stays cool sitting on his box, guys. He's got actually an air conditioning blower that blows out here on his legs and another big unit back here blowing cold air up on the pit box. So they're staying cool in pit lane while the goose is getting cooked.
I knew you wouldn't go there.
This is a good battle right now. This is the other Frizzell in the field. Bert Frizzell starting to put the pressure on Billy Orble in the 09, again showing strength here now in the hands of Guy Cosmo.
So it's Brian Frizzell, Scott Pruitt, Darren Law, top three. Ian James has come storming through. As Brian mentioned, Mark Goosens, then Negri, Orblin, Frizzell, Angelelli, and Guy Cosmo. Riding with the axe.
Ian James, actually, when he passed Goosens, hip checked him out of the way, so he was... He was a little rude on that. He ended up coming through.
Very aggressive move, but Ian James and that team really starting to find their feet middle of the season. Certainly we've seen some speed from those guys. Secured the front row at Daytona, the Mike Shank boys, to start the season, but Ian James really done a tremendous job in this 6 car, of course, team with John Pugh.
The chase is on in GT. 1 second separates Robin Liddell and Nick Ham. What a way it'd be to finish for Nick. Typically, he just does his stint, then hands over to Sylvain, but he's in the car for the second time to top and tail this day with a pole and a win. How about that? But he's got a lot of work ahead to get by the Scotsman who's leading the class. And Andy Lally is only 5.5 seconds further back in third place. And this points race at the front just continues to diminish. It's been as high as 34 points. 35 points, I think, from memory. Now it's down to 17. That's points as of now, with the championship leaders, Paul Edwards and Kelly Collins, down in, what are they, 1, 2, 3, 7th in class.
That's a big hit for the 07 boys. I tell you, it really is. There is Andy Lally now. He's the third place car presently. We've been watching his charge toward the front, but he's quite honestly not turning the quick times. Who is up front. Robin Liddell is running the fast time right now.
Just want to take something back for a moment, Dorse. The 07 boys are 6th, not 7th. My apologies.
Saw Andy this morning after a quick breakfast, and he said, yeah, we're going to be in great shape. As always, Andy, very optimistic. He said, keep the car on the lead lap, and then he said it's all about tire management. How long will we have the tires on for that final stint? And that's going to be the key. Those red tires have really taken a pounding here this weekend throughout practice. As more rubber goes down, it certainly helps their cause a little bit.
Well, it certainly helps their cause, Calvin, but you talk about the rear tires. The rear tires on these Porsches have been incredibly hot all weekend long. Temperatures close to 300 degrees on some of those cars. So when you talk about tire management, you really got to take care of them. They put extra ducting to try to blow cold air or cooler air on the rear tires. But anyway you look at it, even if they get them down 15, 20 degrees, you're still looking at 270, 280 degree tire temperatures, and the tires just aren't going to run long at that pace, at that temperature.
They take those brake ducts that they normally would run in their electric little fans, and they're putting them on the tires to try to get the tires 15 degrees cooler so they don't blister. They've seen over 300 degrees this weekend a couple times.
Now, if you're saying to yourself, hang on a minute, Spencer Pumpelli's usually in the 67, so why is he in the 66 and Lally in the 67? They've just done a driver swap, moving things around with a view to the future of more permanent driver combinations looking down the road for 2009.
Well, at least the two cars are painted the same, so it makes it easy for us to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, we understand Lally and George are going to be doing ARCA racing together next year, so Kevin Buckler felt it was a good thing to get those guys on the same page, working out their chemistry, so they can go to their stock car program next year.
That's Dirk Werner working to the inside of the Corvette here.
Werner and Edwards, who currently run 5th and 6th, are a lap down to the other GT leaders. So it's a long day. They really have nowhere to go. Pretty much going to hold station unless we see some action.
Damage to the front there of Werner's car from some previous skirmish.
There's the Salins 43, the Corvette that he was just getting by. Here is the 07 and the overall race leader. Tucked in behind, Brian Frizzell coming by the GT points leader.
Pruitt not that far back, still within contention.
And Darren Law still unable to get by the 01 of Pruitt. Here's Paul Edwards, and it's get as many points as you can and get out of here. Still with the championship lead. Again, to revisit the story with these boys, they qualified really well, however got moved to the back of the pack with a ride height infraction. And then they had the hard work started from there. Kelly Collins got this car all the way into the lead of the class, but then the caution didn't work their way. They came in, and anyway, they did it tough. Chris?
Well, guys, I think we were all speculating that Scott Pruitt would take it easy with the 99 off the racetrack and looking at this points championship, but listening to the radio traffic between Scott Pruitt and Tim Keen is telling him, don't let up, man. Keep digging. You're the fastest car out there. You can run that 61 down, and let's break through this Barber barrier and get our first win here.
That's right. Pruitt has never won here. Lexus has never won here. We'll see if they can change it. He's got 26.5 minutes to do something about it. You're live here with us on Speed from Birmingham, Alabama, Grand Am. Stick around. Motorsport can be such a cruel sport at times, and here is a classic example. This young team, A Motorsport, on the verge of their breakthrough victory, and Brian Frizzell has come to a stop. We show you the replay. The car was slowing while we're in the commercial break. Look ahead. Look to the top of your screen.
Oh, just lost drive power. Calvin looks like he's limping along. He knows that something's wrong. It looks like it picks up drive there.
It might be transmission. It looked like it suddenly found something, so maybe a transmission issue.
What a shame.
These guys were leading at the previous race at Daytona, and they have to be asking themselves, what do we have to do to break through? Because if effort has got anything to do with it, these guys should be champions. But this is heartbreaking for them.
Look, he's trying to get it in gear and try to get the thing going again, but now we got a full course yellow because that's in a bad place. So our number 4 full course yellow comes out.
So Pruitt inherits the race lead. Darren Law moves up to second, and Ian James has a foot on the podium. But we're under our, what's this, Dorse? Third full course caution of the day. As the field will regroup, gather before we go racing again.
Well, this certainly gives Darren Law a great shot at getting their first victory for some time. 03 since we last saw the Brumos team on the top step of the podium, so they've come so close. This is such a kick in the guts for this team because the boys have done a tremendous job here today. The team works tirelessly. They're really an up-and-coming team, but really starting to shake the establishment. And with the support of Ford, they've really come a long ways. Chris?
Cal, just listening to the team, they're still just trying to figure out exactly what the issue is. It just lost power. They can't figure out if it's electrical or if the motor blew up. It sounds like it's electrical to me just because he can't get it going again and can't get anything out of the engine. So the team just absolutely frustrated. This young team has just been doing so well this year. They just can't get the result.
Just wrong, isn't it? Really feel for those guys. Great bunch. It'll come their way, though. They're just asking when. I always like to say it wouldn't be Sunday nights without Dave Despain, and on Wind Tunnel tonight at 9 Eastern, he has special guests, our own David Hobbs to chew the fat over Formula One, and NASCAR star David Reagan, last year's Nationwide Rookie of the Year, and he's had a stellar year this year for Roush Fenway Racing as well. So join Dave and those special guests and have a little chat as we come back under caution. And Scott Pruitt is in the lead of the race. Second time today that he has led. He inherited the lead after Gurney pitted. As we take a look at something pretty special, we raised this at Daytona, and then they went on, they being Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates, went on to claim their 100th team win, and that's across all the categories that they have competed in, as you can see there on your screen, the most coming their way in the kart days. But look at the bottom. That's the most compelling part of that graphic. 19 of the 20 wins in Grand Am competition have come from Scott Pruitt, and he is the, don't really like the word winningest, but he is the most successful driver of any in the Ganassi squad. That's pretty impressive from Scott Pruitt at the age of 48. Still going strong, still winning. So too is Hurley Haywood.
Yeah, the legendary Hurley Haywood on the wall down here. Darren's been in the car for a long time, but sitting second on this restart. What do you tell him to get him fired up and try to get that move done on Scott?
We're telling him to win the race. I don't care. Scott is going to do a great job. I'm sure that Scott wants to win this race as much as we do, but Darren's in the position. He's got a good car underneath him, and we're going to tell him to go for it.
Well, they're in his ear telling him to go, go, go. This team really coming together, Chris.
Well, I think Scott Pruitt does want to win this race. Just listening to these guys over the radio, Tim Keen telling Scott, hey, we can get this thing. These first couple laps are going to be critical. And Scott Pruitt asking Tim, hey, the guys behind me, before we went to caution, what was going on with them? Where were they going? Were they able to keep up? And Tim Keen saying, you know what? I think you're just going to have to look out for that 58 car. He was the only one that was able to keep up with you before we went to caution. But let's go for the win here, guys. Let's not worry about the championship at this point in time.
I wouldn't count out the 6. Ian James is yet to win, and he was really aggressive when he made that pass on Goosen. So, Calvin, I wouldn't count the young Englishman out.
No, certainly not. And here we look at the DP engine manufacturers' current standings. Lexus on top on din of 5 victories, of course, by Pruitt and Rojas. Pontiac, though, just a short number of points behind Porsche, well back, Ford, and BMW. So it's really down the Lexus Pontiac brigade. And currently you've got the Lexus out front. And the first Pontiac in the pack right now is the Goose, currently running 4th.
Now, Scott Pruitt doesn't need to win this race. He's got a huge, huge advantage now that the 99's dropped out of this race. The other guys, on the other hand, Brumos has not won in a long, long time.
5 years.
5 years. The 58 car, I mean, that's a great thing. Ian James, that team hasn't won ever. So, I mean, those two guys in the back are going to really put the pressure on Pruitt. If I was Pruitt, I'd just say, you know, I don't need to be wrecked here.
Yes, as curious that Chris is hearing that conversation between Timmy Keen and Scott Pruitt. I mean, a lot has changed here today with the 99's retirement. That really changes the ball game. And maybe you have to think, well, maybe we've got such a big lead. Why not just keep going for it? If something goes wrong, we've still got a massive points lead. But you'd think they'd want to bring this one home, regroup from here and see what they need to do with 5 races remaining when we see the checkered flag here tonight.
These boys here thought it was going to be their day. These boys being the Krone Racing drivers. Ricardo Zonta did a very good job and led the race early. Nick Johnson was a victim with a deflating left front tire. That put him in the gravel trap, and the day went backwards from there. Lights are out on the all-new Pontiac G8 pace car. We are going racing. Look at the variety in power plants. This is a Lexus. All Riley's up the front. That's a Porsche. That's a Ford. That's a Pontiac. We're ready to go. Who's going to have the superior package? With the last 15 minutes of this race. Turn 14 leading into 15, and the front straight. Is Pruitt going to notch up another win this year for he and Memo Rojas and for Chip Ganassi, and a first for Lexus here? Let's find out as the green flies here in Alabama. What's Darren Law got? Look at the 6 of Ian James, and never discount the Goose.
Pruitt, the perfect restart. He just got on the power, big gap there, easy, and Goose is wide there. Negri to the inside. The 47's in the mix. Angelelli making a big charge to the front of the pack.
He's
haven't struggled early.
Wrong side of the racetrack to do it, though. He loses position right there.
This is a very impressive drive from Max Angelelli coming back. This will please his team owner. Darren Law to the outside at 5. Wrong place. Will he have enough momentum? Pruitt pushes him wide.
He hip checks him. He used all of the road there. Darren will not be happy. Ian James now gets a run on him.
Damage to the back of the Brumos as well. Look at Ian James looking for a line on the inside, heading down to 7.
Pruitt better expect a payback for that one. I know what I'd be doing for sure. Darren Law's been given the order. Win the race.
2 Shank cars, nose to tail. Oswaldo Negri now running 4th. Mike Shank left the racetrack yesterday to visit Mid-Ohio. Westfield Insurance Company. He went there to talk to their customers there. They want those guys on board for next year as well.
Well, this will be huge for them to have both cars in this position, 3rd and 4th. They were very disappointed with their race at Daytona for both the 6 and the 60 cars. What a comeback the very next round.
Oz has gone to the 60 with some damage at the back, Calvin. I saw some flapping. Let's see what happens on this restart with Oswaldo Negri. We're riding on board him.
Everyone else was spread out. Negri got a big jump. Goose goes to the middle of the road, and Negri just forces the issue. Goose is then out in the dust.
Let's hear from the team principal from MSR. Brian?
Mike Shank down here watching the video monitors as his car circulate around in 3rd and 4th. Great run for both cars, Mike, but the 6, is that kind of bittersweet? We were wondering whether John Pugh actually got his 30 minutes in. Will he get points for today?
Points, yeah, it's 30 minutes, and because of your heat report, it's 10 degrees cooler in there too.
So they've cooled the car down there. Great run. You guys ran so well at Daytona and then had the problem. As you watch the run right now with cars 3rd and 4th, you let those guys battle, or you just tell them to stay in line and see what happens at the checkered flag?
No, we're battling. There are no orders here. Both the tires, rear tires are worn out. Both the drivers are worn out. It's really, really hot driving the car, even though we got a little cooler. But they're doing a great job. I got my one eye on them here.
Well, it seems like good news all around for Mike Shank Racing. John Pugh will get his points, and they got cars running really well. He's going to let them battle all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, it'll be interesting as we have got a full course yellow again, Brian, with that Mike Shankin and John Pugh situation, because the time clock that we put up in the top left of the screen is based on race control, is the official timing clock, and ours signified that Pugh got out of that car early and did not get championship points. We'll be able to follow that up at the end of this race.
Here's a disappointment. Spirit of Daytona, Guy Cosmo, you see the damage, left rear corner, the 09 car with such a good run, Calvin, has had contact with something.
This is another great team, the Spirit of Daytona Racing Group. I mean, they just do a tremendous job. They don't have the resources of the big team. They're trying to develop this V8 Porsche, essentially the Porsche Cayenne motor, and they've really gone their own way. It's not an official Porsche factory engine, but they're showing that there's got strength and really strong to come off on the back of their best qualifying effort this season.
Yeah, 5th caution, and 5th is where Guy Cosmo qualified the Porsche Coyote. Time for a break, but we'll be back.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, where the action is really heating up in these last 10 minutes. Sylvain Tremblay, you guys just took the GT lead before we got into caution here. Can you guys go 2 wins in a row?
I hope so. I mean, we had an interesting strategy by me getting out of the car, putting Nick back in. We kind of had to do it because it was necessary at Lime Rock, but it worked well for us. So here with the heat, we figured that a fresh driver at the end, and Nick is as good as they come. So hopefully the Castrol Syntec Miles can win today.
How nerve-wracking are these restarts?
I hate it. I'd rather be in the car. I don't know how we do it. So, yeah, the restarts are bad for us. Our car is better on long runs. So, you got all the TRG cars from behind. So, hopefully Nick can pull it off.
Good luck in these closing laps.
Just remember what a magnificent year it's been for the Speed Source organization, winning the GT class of the Rolex 24 at Daytona, coming back for a win recently at Daytona. It's that Mazda, then it's the Pontiac, and then you got 3 hungry Porsches chasing those guys down.
Oswaldo Negri, this is Dorsey up in the speed booth. Can you hear me?
Dorsey, here's you loud and clear, buddy.
Well, you got her up to 4th place, and you've got a sprint race on your hands to the finish. Can you get them?
Well, I think I can, but I'm also thinking very much on where we are placed in the championship. 99 is not in front, 91 is not in front, so we'll try to be a little more sure if I can. I'm very much jealous of you guys in the booth. My guys might be on the air conditioning room, and we're in the sauna here, buddy.
You got your teammate right in front of you. You gonna be able to get by him clean?
That's the plan. That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Good luck, man.
Whether it goes that way or not, you can see the damage on the rear there of the Ford-powered Riley prototype.
Going to be losing a little downforce there, and these corners are pretty quick.
Should give him a little bit more straightaway speed, though, so that's the good news. It's not sticking out and causing any drag. When it's off to the side, it acts like a little parachute, but being off the tail of the car, and the 23 cars in pit lane, Chris.
Yeah, they were having to fix the right front corner on that car. It sounds like one of the Krone cars, possibly the 76, got into Bill Arbelin. I think during that last restart, Bill has been in pit lane twice during this caution, so they're just trying to get that car back up to snuff. But this team's showing a lot of speed this weekend with that new Riley, but it just isn't coming their way with a good result, guys.
Well, they got something to smile about. I talked with Alex, and at least you have a platform now that you can work with.
Just looking through our top 10, Pruitt, Law, James, Negri, Frizzell, Angelelli, Goosens. That's a great drive from Angelelli to come back. Bill Lester is in 9th, and if he can stay there, that will be Southern Motorsports' first top 10 since VIR. That'll bring some relief. Dors?
Paul Edwards, Dorsey Schrader, Speed Boots. Got me?
Got me.
How you doing, man? It's hot out here today. You all right?
Yeah, not bad. That's in my cabin on boiling hot water on a hot day.
Yeah, I've been there. I know what you're talking about. You got anything left for the end of this race?
Well, there's not many laps left, and the next car in for position, quite a few cars ahead. So I can't take too many risky maneuvers on these cars in front of me that aren't for position, and we only got a couple laps,
All right, man. Well, hang in there tough. We're watching you.
All right, thanks, George.
Pressure is on for Paul Edwards as the Coyote is being assisted onto the flatbed. That's why this is a prolonged yellow, and if old mate there is trying to lift it up, this will be a lot longer.
He's
but
a strong boy.
Isn't he?
He's pulling that across. Unbelievable.
Lucky he doesn't lose a finger if he didn't watch it with that caliper coming around and fingers stuck inside the wheel there.
You got to be very careful there.
Look at the rear tires not even turning. Not even a bit.
He's off to the chiropractor tomorrow. So we are waiting to go back to green, and as soon as that situation is cleaned up, we will. There's a lot to talk about, particularly in GT, and Dirk Werner is right in the thick of things. Nick Ham, Robin Liddell, and then we get into the Porsche pack of Andy Lally, this man here on screen, Dirk Werner, and then Spencer Pumpelly. And then behind that entire group is Paul Edwards, who we just spoke to. This is a big loss points-wise for the Banner Racing Pontiac, the championship leading car, the 07 car. So it's damage control. They just got to get out of here. They'll still have the points lead if they stay where they are, but they are losing a lot. It has been a tough day here in Birmingham, Alabama, compared to 12 months ago when the 07 won in convincing style. If you've just joined us, let's bring you up to date with what has happened. Ricardo Zonta was brilliant in the opening stages of this race, opened up a 12-second lead. As always here at Barber, there's contact, and that was one between Eric Lux and JC France. Nick Johnson, after taking over from Zonta, had a deflating front left tyre. That sent him off. And then the two TRG cars, Jose Manuel Gutierrez and Craig Stanton, got into it. Sylvain Tremblay got into Kelly Collins. This is when they were arguing over second place. And then we had a fire, Mamo Gidley and the Kodak Dallara. Spectacular pictures, and Mamo was okay. And a slipping clutch, a major clutch problem for the defending champions and the defending race winners. Bob Stallings gains code 99, and the day was done for Alex Gurney and John Fogarty. And that, as well as another incident with the 61, put the 01 of Scott Pruitt back in the lead. Look at the gap second to third as we go to the restart. Can Darren Law go with Pruitt? Can he escape? And what have the Mike Shank Fords got?
Well, they were a long way back. Ian James really didn't set up that restart very well. He's gapped Oz Negri very well, but he was a long way back from Darren Law there, so he was unable to take any advantage of that restart. Darren Law starting to put the pressure on Pruitt. Again, a great restart by Scott, really showing his experience. But Darren Law will recognize the big picture as well. He knows this is the championship leader. How many risks will he want to take?
And Darren actually got a much better start that time than he did the last time around, as he's now knowing not to go inside.
Brian, tell us more about the Brumos car.
Well, much like the 01, I checked in with David Donahue, and he said they too have pickup issues on these long full course cautions. So both of those cars running 1-2 right now are going to have a lap or two at least before the tires come good. So it'll be interesting to see which one of them has the better car underneath them. The better balance it is, the less that pickup is going to matter.
Boy, look at Pruitt's car laying down rubber when he comes off these corners, Calvin. It means he's really giving some side load to those tires. He's actually leaving skid marks on the racetrack.
He's going for that 6th victory of the season. This is impressive stuff. It is the dream season. How would you believe it, the amount of competition in the series right now? In 8 races, they'd take 5 victories and 7 podiums. Unbelievable stuff.
How hungry is Darren Law, though? I mean, this team needs a win so badly.
Time running out, less than 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes, and this is a timed race. It's Pruitt in the Lexus for Ganassi. Then it's the Brumos Porsche. Then it's the 2 Ford-powered Rileys for Mike Shank Racing. And look at the pack behind. Bert Frizzell is in the mix in 5th. As we talk GT, and the pressure is on Nick Ham at the front. Can he convert a pole into another win? Back-to-back victories for the Castrol Syntec Mazda.
He really stretched it down that front straightaway, had a nice gap as he went into that braking zone. That takes the pressure off when you're trying to defend. Liddell slips wide.
Look at Werner. Here comes the defending GT Series champion, Dirk Werner. After flying in late, he got into the program. Bryce Miller qualified the car well, but Werner is not done with yet. He's got by Andy Lally. He doesn't want to just be the first Porsche home. He wants to be the first GT car home.
Pruitt out front, 2 to 3 car length lead. Big gap back to Ian James. So it's between these two guys, Dozzy, it looks like. They're probably going to have a clean run here to the finish. Should not see too much more traffic.
No, I don't think there's any traffic. It's too close to the end now, so that's all to the favor of Scott Pruitt right now.
Hey, an update for you. We just got a verbal update that the 87 has moved into 2nd place in GT. Werner is into 2nd and on the move, on the chase. Brian.
while these yellow flags are not good for the Daytona prototype guys because of the pickup, they're excellent for the guys driving the Porsches in the GT class. Remember, we talked about tire temperatures. Those long course, full course cautions give them the ability to cool the tires, and they get 2 or 3 laps afterwards to attack.
Can this man hang on? Can Nick Ham hang on? Or will that little red Porsche of Dirk Werner catch him?
You don't think he wasn't trying right there? You saw the Mazda right there, 2 wheels in the dirt. Here comes Werner.
2.3 miles to go for Nick Ham to hang on, to survive and get that team's 3rd win of the year.
Andy Lally looks to the inside, late on the brakes. Liddell defends.
Rob Liddell under big attack. Andy Lally right there. The Porsche should be good, really strong on this next end of the racetrack.
Turn 7 and 7A for the final time for Scott Pruitt. Can Darren Law do anything about it? I don't think so.
Not without a mistake, he
He needed help, Dorsey. He needed GT traffic. This caution, we went back to green too late in the going to encounter traffic again, so Pruitt just had to lay the hammer down, and he's doing it.
But Darren, I mean, now he's within striking distance. He is within striking distance now.
As Pruitt proved at Daytona, it's never over until it's over with that 0.08 of a second margin win over Alex Gurney. Final few corners here, though, at Barber Motorsports Park. The back end steps out on Pruitt's Lexus Riley. Final corner now. Darren Law is giving it everything he's got, but it's not enough. It will be the 6th win in 2008 for the Telmex Ganassi Riley of Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas. The championship leaders win at Barber for the very first time.
This is Werner. He's chasing down Nick Ham. Nick Ham going for his 3rd victory of the year, 2 in a row, coming off the Daytona win. A nice gap there, Dorsey. 2 corners to go.
Again, Nick Ham putting the Mazda all the way into the dirt, getting every bit of racetrack as he can.
One more lap would have been enough, I think, for Dirk Werner, or would it have been? It doesn't matter now because it's another win to the Speed Source Mazda. Nick Ham and Sylvain Tremblay, back-to-back winners in the Rolex GT Championship chase.
But where's Robin Liddell, guys? He would have been in that thing. He was right behind that.
He dropped to 4th.
He was close, and here we see, off in the dirt, Lally putting the pressure on. Liddell takes to the outside.
Oh, what a save that was.
I'll tell you what, it was a good save by Andy Lally too. Did you see him lock it up and had to catch it? Good quick hands there. So frustration for the 57. They led the majority of this race, and they will not stand on the podium, but Pruitt and Rojas will again, right on the very top spot. We're back at Barber. It's time to talk with our winners. They're with Chris.
Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas get their 6th victory of the year at a track that has eluded both Pruitt and the Telmex crew. Scott, how tough were those final couple restarts?
It was really tough. I mean, getting down to the end, the engine was way over the top on temperature, oil temp, water temp. Memo did a great job. The Ganassi guys, again, a great job. We took advantage of however we could, and had my family at home, as well as thanks to Lexus. I mean, this thing just runs flawlessly, even at high temperatures.
How much conversation was there between you and the team about what was going on with the 99 and the championship?
Well, none. They just said, it's all about, until the end, like we talked about earlier, we're going for the win. And I mean, it was really bad coming off the yellows. You had so much pickup that for the first couple laps, I was really sliding all over the track. But congratulations, even the 58 guys did a great job today, and just a nice job.
Well, Scott Pruitt worked hard. You just got to look at him.
Yeah, how about that? What an effort. Super performance again from Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabates. As we talk championship points, it has blown out from 40 points to 60 now between the 01 and the 99. And it was a pretty productive day for the 91 of Jim Matthews and Mark Goosen. So too, look at how close it is there, back with the Mike Shank boys, and also the Brumos Porsche coming on strong. Brian?
Sylvain Tremblay handing Nick Ham water and coal rags down here. Great job. 3rd victory of the season for you guys under the most difficult conditions. Do you think it was the strategy to keep changing drivers that really got you guys to the end while other guys were burning down?
No, Sylvain would have done the same thing at the end. That's the way we decided to go, and the car was fantastic. And there was only one place on the track I could pass Robin, and on that restart, I just got underneath him and out-dragged him into the corkscrew, and that was it. But I flat-spotted the tires pretty bad going by him, and was hoping they'd hold on to the end. But great team effort, Speed Source, Mazda, and Castrol, and great job by my buddy Sylvain and all the team. Fantastic. I'm so happy.
Congratulations, guys. This GT Championship really closing down, Lee.
Yeah, Brian, that's appropriate because while the DP one is blowing out, this GT one is just getting more exciting all the time. At one point, the Banner Boys had a 35-point, a full race win margin. Now it's down to just 14. And the Davis-Liddell combination were hurt there a little bit by missing the podium and not perhaps getting that win. And then back to Tim George and Ted Ballou. We need to tell you about our SunTrust Improve Your Position Award winners, thanks to SunTrust. And in the Daytona prototype class, it was the number 60 of Oswaldo Negri and Mark Patterson, 14th to 4th. Well done. And for Team Salem, it was Joe Salem and Will Nonamaker in their Corvette, making up some good, strong positions there. Well done to those boys as well. Final thoughts, fellas?
Well, you call it the dream season for Ganassi. It really is. It's the only car that has not thrown a race away. Their consistency has put them almost over the top.
And that GT Championship battle is getting tighter every week. I mean, there's a couple of races ago. The 07 car essentially had a full race wins lead. It's now been cut in half, Lee. They're going to be feeling the pressure with 3 races to go.
You mentioned right at the top of the show, Cal, that the 99 needed the 01 to have a bad day, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's just a killing blow there. And it's poignant at the end there. You saw the red 99 after the side of the racetrack as Pruitt flashed by to take that 6th victory of the year.
We look forward to the next round on the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series calendar. Or as we mentioned earlier, it is coming your way from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. And that is the week after next. It's a Friday race, and it's coming your way August 1 at 8 p.m. Eastern. What a very memorable day here in Birmingham, Alabama. Great racing, high temperatures, hard work for the teams and drivers in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. But again, we have to say well done to the 01 Telmex Ganassi crew, Maymo Rojas, Scott Pruitt. They do it again. Thanks for watching Grand Am Sports Cars here on Speed.